Chapter 1091. This is the perilous land of all the Holy Spirit veins in the heavenly starry ocean. With your eyesight, you will not be able to tell if they are real or fake. As long as you run into any one of them, you will most likely die. Xiaochen did not say anything, just looking at it. Indeed, he felt his hair stand on end. In his anxiety, he would not be able to avoid misjudging the situation. As long as he made one mistake, he would really die. This is a map of the distribution of spirit veins that the four of us geomasters drew when we roamed the world. How many you can subdue will depend on your own ability. Then, Jiang Tian handed Xiaochen a piece of vellum. Similarly, there were many holy spirit veins marked on it. It was very detailed and clear at a glance. In just an instant, Xiaochen understood the value of this second map. It was simply a priceless treasure. Xiaochen asked doubtfully, "Why are you helping me?" Jiang Tian replied calmly, "It's still the same thing. Only you can deal with the Ho ghost. 10,000 years ago, the Qing Emperor could kill its physical body. 10,000 years later, its soul will definitely be yours to kill. We are true geomasters, masters of the earth. Protecting the balance of this world will always be our most basic responsibility. The Ho ghost is the most uncertain factor that will break this balance." It was hard to imagine that this old man before him would say something like that. Xiaochen thought for a while before saying, "Senior, you mentioned the Ho ghost. I have something to say. I feel that someone is controlling the Ho ghost." When Jiang Tian heard that, he was stunned. Then he smiled and said, "What kind of creature is the Ho?" "It is an ancient mutated beast. Killing dragons is like killing earthworms. Even if it dies and only its soul remains, it cannot be controlled." Jiang Tian's words were very certain. Thinking about it, the demon ghost was already so powerful. If it could still be controlled, how horrifying would the master behind it be? Even so, Xiaochen still had doubts in his heart. Earlier, when the Ho ghost chased after him, he had seen a struggling expression in its eyes several times. This was definitely not wrong. If not for someone controlling it and ordering it to swallow up that evil dragon, which conflicted with its decision to kill Xiaochen, how could he explain this? Jiang Tian said indifferently, "Don't overthink this. You should focus on how you are going to advance to Martial Emperor within 5 years. Before I leave, I'll give you a word of advice. Fortune and misfortune are hard to predict. The matters of the world are like the feng shui of this world. There is never a set that stays the same. Good and bad are unpredictable. I won't beat around the bush either. I'll make it clear to you. It looks like you're in a dead end, unable to advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years. Then, like a meteor, you will vanish in a flash, turning into dust and disappearing. However, in reality, even without the matter of biological lifespan, you still need to become a Martial Emperor within 5 years. Otherwise, only death awaits you." Xiaochen's expression changed slightly. He looked at the strange old man and asked, "What do you mean?" Jiang Tian said unhurriedly, "How long do you think the Thunder King can live? There are no martial gods in this world and no one can live forever. The Thunder King has already lived for over 10,000 years and every day he lives is a life-defying heaven. If the Thunder King is not around, how can a single Haotian emperor protect you? Before a true major character, killing you would still take only one finger. Now that something like this happened, it gives you a sense of urgency. Advancing to Martial Emperor within 5 years also increases your chances. Who knows if this is a fortune or a disaster?" Xiaochen's heart sank. Then he smiled and said, "I never thought of it that way before. Now that I think about it, it is indeed as Senior said. Fortune and misfortune come together. Goodbye." Jiang Tian left as soon as he said he would, not dragging his feet at all. In the blink of an eye, he vanished from Xiaochen's sight. Xiaochen unfurled the 2 sheets of vellum. One represented life, which recorded all the Holy Spirit veins that the 4 geomasters discovered. The other represented death. It recorded all sorts of strange and unfathomable situations that could kill Emperor Wu. Touching them meant certain death. After a while, Xiaochen grasped the 2 sheets of vellum tightly. Regular geomasters were limited by their cultivation. It would be difficult for them to subdue a dragon vein by themselves or deal with the various hidden ferocious beasts. Shao Chen possessed the combat prowess of the great perfection blue-robed emperor and the dragon-fixing needle and dragon-revealing mirror. With these two dragon-seeking secret treasures, he could subdue a spirit vein by himself. Heaven would never seal off all paths. There would always be a chance of survival. This was Shao Chen's chance of survival. Shao Chen's figure flashed, and he vanished into the vast sea. He left for a long time. There was no news of the Blue Dragon King in the heavenly starry sea. No one knew where the Blue Dragon King had gone. The Zodiac Hall and the divine dragon palaces of the four seas sent scouts everywhere. However, they could not find Shao Chen's location. Rumors spread everywhere, and different versions of the story spread everywhere. Some said that Shao Chen went to the Penglai Sea, which no one knew the way, to search for spirit herbs that could resolve his problems. Others said that Shao Chen went to the Kunlun continent to seek help from the Thunder King. There were also people who said that Shao Chen scattered his cultivation to live past 100 years, becoming an ordinary person and completely disappearing, never to appear again. However, as time went by, people slowly stopped talking about Shao Chen. After all, he was a genius who was past his prime. There was no point in talking about him. This was especially so when the news of the solar holy son and the lunar holy daughter breaking through to the blue-robed emperor at the same time came out from the Zodiac Hall. This made everyone forget about Shao Chen's existence. Everyone turned to discussing the rumors about Chu Yang and Fu Hongyao. Shocking news spread out from the Zodiac Hall. When the solar holy sun and the lunar holy sun worked together, they could already defeat a great perfection blue-robed emperor of the older generation. They could even easily defeat a small perfection blue-robed emperor alone. News continued to spread. As a prime, the cyclic astral emperor, Emperor Wu, had already taken out all the accumulations of the immortal Holy Land that the Zodiac Hall had accumulated over tens of thousands of years. The cyclic astral emperor personally guided the two in their cultivation, preparing for the two to reach the small perfection blue-robed emperor realm before the Four Seas hero gathering, completely suppressing the other immortal holy lands. However, things were not that simple. Not only did these two obtain great fortuitous encounters on the road to burying emperors, the holy scions of the other holy lands did not fall behind. The myriad fiend islands Di Xinhan, the Heavenly Province Academy's young master Qingshu, the five poison sects Fang Xiaojun, and the Yin-Yang paradises Tong Susu all broke through to the blue-robed emperor realm at different times. Immediately, the entire heavenly starry ocean surged with excitement. Everyone felt anticipation for the Four Seas hero gathering, which was about to begin in 10 months. With so many outstanding youths breaking through to the blue-robed emperor realm together, the Four Seas hero gathering, which happened once every 20 years, had not been so lively in the past 10,000 years. There were even some busybodies who started to make bets in the periphery, betting on who could stand out and suppress all the outstanding talents to obtain the Lunar Palace's greatest gift, the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. Aside from the immortal Holy Land's holy sons and holy daughters, the most popular ones were the veteran experts of the previous Four Seas hero gathering. As long as one was not over 50 years old, one could continue to participate in the Four Seas hero gathering. Cultivators had an average lifespan of 300 years. A 50-year-old person did not look old and could be considered a youth. Several of the experts of the previous Four Seas hero gathering were in their 20s when they participated. Now that they had passed their 20s, they were still a few years away from turning 50, so they did not violate the rules. In reality, the biggest attraction of every Four Seas hero gathering was the competition between the old and the new outstanding talents. In every Four Seas hero gathering, there would be a newcomer making a strong debut and becoming famous. There were also veteran outstanding talents who retained their glory and fame. However, this time, it was a golden age. The outstanding talents of the new generation all came with a ferocious aura. Some people guessed that the veteran outstanding talents would be wiped out if nothing unexpected happened. All that remained to be seen was whether a miracle would happen or not. Perhaps a strong dark horse would appear out of nowhere. Anything was possible. In the Western Sea, the Blue Dragon Kings conferred base, Heavenly Star Island, under the management of Lan Xiaobai and Kim Taeho's group, the three holy masters' land nearly turned this place into a desolate island. Lan Xiaobai used the peak spirit vein that Xiao Qin gave him to rebuild the city at the top of the mountain. Then he formed guards to maintain order in the city. Kim Taeho opened up another path. With Neptune's former subordinates, the 7 heroes of the dragon, blocking the way, Xiao Qin opened up a trade route to the Black Sea. Opening the trade route to the Black Sea had completely revitalized the island's economy, allowing ordinary mortals to have an excellent life. Ordinary people did not matter in the world of cultivators. Just a martial monarch could kill a large number of them. However, the foundation of this world was made up of ordinary people. Geniuses came from ordinary people. Not only did they bring prosperity, but they also brought hope. As long as a sect was established and nurtured properly, these ordinary people would be able to accumulate strength quickly through systematic training. At this moment, Lan Xiaobai, Kim Taeho, Yu Chenxi, Lord Jiu, and the others gathered in a palace on the tallest peak of Heavenly Star Island. Aside from Lan Xiaobai, everyone else frowned heavily, showing depressed expressions. Yu Chenxi asked, "Debao, there is still no news of Xiao Qin." Kim Taeho shook his head and replied, "No. The last time he appeared was at the Northern Sea Alliance. After that, there was no news of him at all. I spent a lot of money in the Black Sea, but I did not manage to buy any news of him." When the others heard that, they all sighed softly. They had managed Heavenly Star Island for Xiao Qin. However, the master of Heavenly Star Island was currently missing. How could they not feel at ease? This was especially so for the people present. They all had pretty good relationships with Xiao Qin and were worthy of being called friends. They were more concerned about his life or death than anyone else. Lan Xiaobai, who already had the air of a leader, smiled faintly and said, "This is actually a good thing. If we cannot find him, those people who want to harm him will not be able to find him either. This proves that Xiao Qin is at least safe." However, the news of Xiao Qin not advancing to martial emperor in 5 years spread like wildfire, making it hard for us to feel at ease. Lord Jiu did not understand how to read people's expressions, so he said what everyone was most unwilling to say. The others immediately looked at him. Old Nine said blankly, "Did I say something wrong?" This Lord Jiu did not say anything wrong. He only has 20 years to live. Kim Taeho folded his golden folding fan and wrapped it on Lord Jiu's head. He scolded, "Do you know how to speak properly? Are you forcing this fat lord to make a move?" Melancholy flashed in Lan Xiaobai's eyes. He waved his hand and said, "Let's not talk about this anymore. Without seeing Xiao Qin, we can't take it seriously." Don't. Just at this moment, footsteps came from outside the door. A disciple entered and reported, "Young Master Lan, there is a blue-robed emperor outside Blue Dragon City with many cultivators, requesting to enter the city." Lan Xiaobai's face turned cold. He suddenly stood up and said, "That group of people from the 7 heroes of the dragon is here to cause trouble again. This is really never-ending. You, go and invite Elder Qin over. I'll go and take a look." Chapter 1092. As of now, Lan Xiaobai's cultivation had not fallen behind at all on Heavenly Star Island. He had already become a great Grandmaster-level martial sage long ago, only a hair's breadth away from the blue-robed emperor. Together with the Azura race's strong spatial talent, an ordinary blue-robed emperor might not be a match for him. No, it's a girl wearing a veil. She said her name is Emo Qin. Emo Qin? Lan Xiaobai muttered to himself, as though he had never heard of this name before. He said, "Debao, I'll leave this person's background to you. You have to give me the answer within half a day. That should be fine, right?" Kim Taeho smiled and said, "I can tell you now. That is the top beauty of the Cloud Sea domain. Xiao Qin appeared there for a period of time before. It seems like he even had some interaction with this girl. Don't worry, she is definitely not an enemy." As for Xiao Qin's whereabouts, Kim Taeho had always been in charge of Heavenly Star Island. Hence, when Kim Taeho heard Emo Chen's name, he immediately recalled her. Lan Xiaobai revealed a slightly interested expression. He smiled and said, "It looks like something good is coming." There is no need to invite Elder Qin over. Come with me to meet this Miss Emo Chin. Outside the vast Blue Dragon City at the foot of the mountain, Emo Chin led the 10-peak blacksmiths of the Emo clan to admire the majestic city walls. First, miss, is this place our new home? An old blacksmith asked with some joy as he looked at Blue Dragon City. Right now, the deaths of the 8 blue-robed emperors in the Cloud Sea domain had brought about chaos. All the major factions had sent their experts over, intending to redistribute their territories. In the great chaos, human life was like grass. The flames of war raged everywhere. If Emo Chin had not led the Emo clan far away from the center of the chaos, who knew how many people would have died? However, the Emo clan was no longer willing to live the days of hiding. This Heavenly Star Island before them was no longer a place for them. Although the outside of the island was surrounded by several major factions, when the old men arrived on the island, they were shocked. The prosperity of the island far surpassed their imagination. The shattered Cloud City from a long time ago was probably just like this. How exactly did such a city survive under such heavy seals? It was still flourishing and growing with each passing day, which greatly attracted their curiosity. Emo Chin recalled Xiao Chen's words. Back then, he said that if she wanted to find him, she could go to Heavenly Star Island. If she needed help, she could go to Heavenly Star Island as well. It's fine. What he said can't be wrong, Emo Chin said, nodding her head gently. As Xiao Chen spoke, a man and a woman flew over from the city gates. They were the temporary managers of Heavenly Star Island, Lan Xiaobai, and Yu. Lan Xiaobai appeared very elegant as he descended. He had a smile on his face as he walked over to Emo Chin. Then he performed a cupped fist salute and said, Miss Emo Chin, sorry for not going out to meet you. You bring them to the city to rest. I will personally bring Miss Emo Chin around. Yu nodded with a smile. Then she led the 10 old men behind Emo Chin into the city, leaving Emo Chin alone with Lan Xiaobai. Some questions were best asked when there were fewer people around. Clearly, Lan Xiaobai understood this principle. Miss Emo Chin, what brings you here? Lan Xiaobai asked directly. The two strolled around the city. Emo Chin sized up the people in the city with interest. This was especially so when she discovered many Black Sea cultivators. Now, she somewhat understood why this city was so prosperous. After hearing Lan Xiaobai's words, Emo Chin glanced at him and said, I'm here to look for someone. However, since he did not come out, he should not be on the island. Lan Xiaobai smiled bitterly and said, I understand. Right now, all of us old friends are looking for him. However, no one knows where he is. Emo Chin was not in a rush. Instead, she consoled Lan Xiaobai. She smiled and said, Don't worry. He will definitely return to Heavenly Star Island. He will never go back on his word. Lan Xiaobai smiled to himself. The moment Emo Chin said that, his wariness of this girl completely vanished. After some deliberation, he asked, In that case, Miss Emo Chin, what are your plans now? Emo Chin replied calmly, I want to bring all my clansmen and move to Heavenly Star Island. Lan Xiaobai could not help rejoicing in his heart. According to the information he obtained from Kim Taeho, the Emo clan that Emo Chin came from was the top refining clan of the Cloud Sea domain. As for Emo Chin, not to mention her cultivation as the blue-robed emperor, her being able to come to Heavenly Star Island would be a great help. More importantly, according to Kim Taeho's information, Mo Chen had obtained the Book of Heavenly Works, a divine canon for refining weapons. She was very likely to become a divine refiner. Such a person would line up in the various holy lands and receive them lavishly. It was a great thing for her to come to Heavenly Star Island. Thinking of something, Lan Xiaobai said somewhat embarrassedly, No one in Heavenly Star Island will object to Miss Emo Chin coming. However, the 7 heroes of the dragon have sealed off the path to Heavenly Star Island. It will be difficult for her to bring her entire clan over. Emo Chin nodded and smiled softly. I already knew about this when I came. It's fine. I believe this situation will not last for long. Lan Xiaobai felt some envy for Xiao Chen. He wondered how this fellow managed to do it. First, the descendants of the 13 great bandits of the Black Sea appeared at Heavenly Star Island at the same time, helping Kim Taeho clear the final obstacle to entering the Black Sea. Now, There was another Grandmaster-level refiner, bringing her entire clan over. Imo-chan changed the topic, thinking of something. Young Master Lan, have you heard that the Four Seas Hero Gathering that happens once every 20 years is about to begin? Naturally, I have heard about that. However, Heavenly Star Island is very far from Bright Moon City. Furthermore, the transportation formation on the island is completely destroyed. Furthermore, the 7 heroes of the dragon have blocked off the path ahead. It is very difficult to get out. I'm not very clear on the specifics of this. Lan Xiaobai looked at Imo-chan doubtfully. He did not know why Imo-chan would ask this. Imo-chan said in understanding, in that case, it looks like young Master Lan does not know that the most important gift of this Four Seas Hero Gathering is the last mountain tablet of the Dragon's Gate left behind. It is made of heaven's subduing rock, and the words Dragon's Gate were personally written by the Qing Emperor. When Lan Xiaobai heard this, his expression changed. He exclaimed in shock, "Are you saying that Xiaochen will appear at the Bright Moon City Hero Gathering? It is not that he will appear but that he will definitely appear. No matter how strong the rumors are, I firmly believe that he will appear. Furthermore, he will bring the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet back to Heavenly Star Island," Imo-chan said with absolute certainty, a resolute expression in her eyes. Four Seas Hero Gathering. Lan Xiaobai looked into the distance as he muttered to himself, will he really appear? Honestly speaking, Lan Xiaobai was somewhat doubtful. He was not as resolute as Imo-chan. The words of the Lunar Palace's holy daughter were sufficient to make those rumors even more confusing. However, Lan Xiaobai was willing to believe that Xiaochen would definitely appear. He would bring the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet back to Heavenly Star Island, the land that the Blue Dragon King conferred. Xiaochen would not forget what he promised Lan Xiaobai. One day, he would hold the first martial arts gathering and leave a mark on this age of geniuses. In the Zodiac Hall of the Southern Sea, the stars looked like a chessboard, densely packed and crisscrossing in the seawater. If one looked carefully, one would discover that these stars reflected in the seawater were all exquisite palaces. The thousands of palaces shone with starlight. The light from the Sun Palace and the Moon Palace was the most dazzling, displaying 2 different styles. One was masculine and tyrannical, giving off a boundless light. It was very dazzling, not daring to look directly at it. The other was soft and lingering, giving off a bright light. It was as cold as snow, bone-chilling. One person flew out from each of the 2 astral palaces. Immediately, the stars dimmed, and the light covered them, only showing off the 2's outstanding looks. As the disciples of the various astral palaces looked at the 2 in the air, intense envy flashed in their eyes. The Moon Palace's Fu Hongyao and the Sun Palace's Chu Yang were now shining with brilliance. They had become the blue-robed emperor at the same time, receiving the personal nurturing of the prime astral emperor. Now that they came out of closed-door cultivation, they had probably broken through to small perfection as the blue-robed emperor. The 2 met in the air. When they saw each other's cultivation, joy flashed in their eyes. Fu Hongyao smiled and said, "Senior brother, you came out of closed-door cultivation as well." Chu Yang nodded and said calmly, "1 year ago, I personally saw that Xiaochen could not avenge your humiliation. This time, as long as he dares to appear at the Four Seas Hero Gathering, I will personally help you get rid of this tumor." Fu Hongyao thought back to the humiliating scene at the king conferral ceremony. Even now, it was still a heart demon. After thinking about it, Fu Hongyao said calmly, "Senior brother, there is no need to care. I don't believe that a has-been genius will have the courage to appear. The ones that senior brother should care about should be the myriad fiend islands Di Xinhan and Yen Shursan. These 2 should be your greatest opponents." A murderous intent flashed in Chu Yang's eyes. He said indifferently, "It is best that they do not appear. Otherwise, I do not mind leaving behind an indelible humiliation in his final moments." How vast was the heavenly starry ocean! Even Emperor Wu could not travel to every corner of it. There were too many desolate sea regions with too many maps that could not be marked. If a person threw himself into this vast sea and really wanted to hide, no one would be able to find him. Unless one used a secret treasure that could peer into the mysteries of heaven, no one would be able to find him. Xiaochen did not hide, nor did he try to do so. However, others would not be able to find any traces of him. The reason was none other than the fact that he had been at the bottom of the sea for the past 9 months, close to 300 days, not coming ashore even once. Given the blue-robed emperor's strength, Xiaochen could breathe underwater without any pressure. If time permitted, he could easily stay underwater for even longer. Why not come ashore? No one would like to hide in the darkness, where there was no sunlight, no air, and no signs of human habitation at the bottom of the sea. Naturally, Xiaochen was no exception. However, he did not have enough time. He had to count every minute and second on his fingers. He could not afford to waste any of it. If he appeared on the surface of the sea once, it would be hard to guarantee that he would not be tempted by the fresh air or the colors of the sun. It would only wear down his fighting spirit and waste time. Since that was the case, there was no need to appear on the surface of the sea. He just had to focus on finding dragons and fixing veins. Somewhere at the bottom of the sea in the Eastern Sea, in a world where there was no daylight, Xiaochen opened his heavenly eye and walked around with a calm expression. The surrounding terrain turned into many images flashing in Xiaochen's mind. They were like scenes from a movie, miraculous and profound. This was the ability of the heavenly eye after Xiaochen cultivated the paradise divine art to the 3rd layer. It could allow him to clearly see everything in his surroundings within a second. Xiaochen took out the vellum that Jiang Tian gave him and quickly glanced at it before putting it away. Then, he fixed his gaze on the hidden dragons in front. That was a place surrounded by many mountain peaks. Xiaochen carefully looked around and found Tanlang Peak, Jumen Peak, and Wutsu Peak. Chapter 1093. With the 3 auspicious stars present, the Holy Spirit vein in this dragon vein could reach superior grade. However, among the many Holy Spirit veins, it could only be classified as above average. The reason was that although the 3 auspicious stars were present at the same time, they were not of outstanding quality. The Greedy Wolf Peak was flat and pointed, like an unearthed bamboo shoot, sharp on all sides and flat on the top. The Greedy Wolf Peak before Xiaochen was uneven at the top and not round at the bottom. The only redeeming feature was that it was rather straight, not skewed, like a sharp sword piercing through the water. The other 2 auspicious stars each had their own advantages and disadvantages. There was no need to elaborate on them. With Xiaochen's current dragon-seeking art, he could find all sorts of stars with just one glance and instantly determine their advantages and disadvantages. After practicing for more than 9 months, Xiaochen's dragon-seeking art improved rapidly. Compared to when he was at the Northern Sea Alliance, he was already much stronger. When Xiaochen saw Jiang Tian, he would definitely be shocked and withdraw much of his pride. No matter what, Jiang Tian would never have imagined that Xiaochen would undergo such an inhumane cultivation, going to the bottom of the sea for 9 months without coming out. Not to mention the vile environment, just the loneliness and solitude was something that even Jiang Tian might not be able to endure. Aside from the 3 auspicious stars, Xiaochen also discovered the Army Breaker Peak, an ominous star. The Army Breaker Peak here was both huge and tall. Its aura was much stronger than any of the 3 auspicious stars. However, a lone tree cannot make an army. No matter how strong a lone wolf was, when facing the combined might of the 3 auspicious stars, it would lose. There would not be any mutated evil dragons. It was just that because of this, the hidden dragon grounds became more dangerous, and there were more uncertainties. Xiaochen closed his heavenly eye, not feeling too worried. In the past 300 days, he had faced several situations that were even more dangerous than this. Xiaochen's figure flashed and stopped on the Greedy Wolf Peak. After confirming the dragon cave, with a thought, the dragon-revealing mirror flew out of his body. Hundreds of formations were embedded on the edges of the ancient bronze mirror. Xiaochen formed hand seals with both hands, and the patterns on the edges spun like gears. The formation hidden within the dragon-revealing mirror began to perform precise and complicated calculations. A moment later, a purple pillar of light shot out from the silence. Opening the acupoint was done in 1 step. Amid a loud rumble, the surrounding mountains collapsed one by one, and the cracks on the ground expanded rapidly. Not long after, the mountain under Xiaochen's feet collapsed in just a few breaths' time. Xiao Chen remained unperturbed. He calmly sank along with the mountain. Rumble. Hundreds of guard mountains in the north flew toward Xiao Chen like giant cannonballs amidst the tumbling and chaotic seawater. They carried the power of the blue-robed emperor, which was equivalent to an attack from the blue-robed emperor. Xiao Chen moved his right hand behind him and a long spear appeared in his hand. Xiao Chen gripped the spear tightly. Purple thunder fire blazed on the spear's body. Flames were burning in the water. This was a wonderful sight, and it looked extremely strange. A spear burning the heavens. Xiao Chen shouted in his heart. He pushed off the water and took a step forward. Then he thrust his spear forward. The might of Xiao Chen's profound martial technique was unleashed without holding anything back. Time seemed to stop for a moment. In the next moment, the seawater flowed backward. 50 kilometers of seawater in all directions surged up in the direction of Xiao Chen's spear. The entire stretch of seawater curled up like a piece of cloth. The hundreds of approaching mountains could no longer advance under such might. Looking down from the sky, one would see a 3-kilometer-tall tsunami rising from the surface of the sea without any wind or waves. It looked like the end of the world. As the surging seawater slowly rose, Xiao Chen's feet, followed by his torso, and finally his brain. When he looked around, there was a large empty space. This was a rare opportunity. Xiao Chen took a deep breath. After a while, he closed his eyes and waited quietly for the seawater to fall. Boom! The seawater suddenly fell. As it rose and fell, it erupted with a huge force, shattering the mountains and boulders in the seawater in an instant. When Xiao Chen looked back, he saw that the 8 ferocious beasts in the southern mountains had all leaped out. A smile appeared on Xiao Chen's face as he put away his spear, not even bothering to look at it. Then, he tossed out the dragon-fixing needles behind him, forming a dragon-sealing formation and trapping the spirit vein escaping underground. At the same time, Xiao Chen's intense battle unfolded. The weapons in his hands quickly changed. Saber, spear, sword, halberd, staff, leg techniques, and fist techniques. He executed 10 different profound martial techniques. Xiao Chen moved among the 10 ferocious beasts that were as strong as the small perfection blue-robed emperor. As he fought intensely, he practiced the various profound martial techniques of the changing character formula. After 9 months of cultivation, Xiao Chen had clearly improved. Not only could he execute every profound martial technique with familiarity, but he even gained his own comprehension of them. The profound martial techniques that Xiao Chen executed were very natural. If not for his appearance, it would be impossible to guess that Xiao Chen was a bladesman. For hours later, Xiao Chen killed all the ferocious beasts. Then, Xiao Chen spat out a mouthful of turbid qi. The qi was like a sword piercing 5 kilometers away. This was Xiao Chen's advantage. If it were another geomaster, even if they could find spirit veins of various grades, they would not be able to deal with the 10 ferocious beasts alone. However, without Xiao Chen's combat prowess, they would not be able to deal with the 10 ferocious beasts alone. It would be impossible for them to subdue the spirit vein alone. With a thought, the dragon-revealing mirror spun again. A red light surging with killing qi shot out from it and chopped at the spirit vein roaming dragons sealed by the dragon-fixing needles. Miserable cries came from underground. When the cries stopped, Xiao Chen withdrew the dragon-revealing mirror into his body. Then, he formed hand seals and waved his hand. The ground opened up, and a clump of golden spirit veins origin floated out. In an instant, the seawater turned golden. Before the golden light spread too far, Xiao Chen quickly placed it in his universe ring. Ao Jiao, how many is this? 20 already. That was right. Xiao Chen had already stored 20 holy spirit veins. 2 months ago, his cultivation had already reached peak small perfection, only a step shy of great perfection. Continuing to consume holy spirit veins was no longer of much help to him. He needed stronger spirit veins. Only then would he be able to break through the bottleneck of small perfection blue-robed emperor and reach great perfection blue-robed emperor, successfully forming the dragon-shaped heavenly seal. Xiao Chen kept these holy spirit veins, not for himself, but for his brothers and friends on Heavenly Star Island. Ao Jiao put away the holy spirit veins with a smile. Then she said, "Don't go back on your word. You have to give me half of these holy spirit veins. I'll help you mature the spirit trees in the immortal spirit ring. The lunar cassia tree, the dragon mark fruit, the 1,000-year-old snow ginseng, and the netherworld flower have all wasted a lot of time. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly and said, "Whatever you say. It's time for us to go out." "Right, it's time to go out. Are you going to retrieve the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet? I have been keeping track of the days for you." Ao Jiao nodded in satisfaction. Plop. Xiao Chen pushed off with his feet, and his body moved like a roaming dragon as he leaped out of the sea. The water on his body evaporated, and the blazing sun washed away the mud on him. He looked radiant, like he had been reborn. Xiao Chen gave off a sharp light, looking even more dazzling than the sun. After landing firmly on the water, Xiao Chen took a long, luxurious breath. This was the first time he felt that just taking a deep breath could make him feel so comfortable. This was the first time he felt that the color of the sun was so enchanting. Xiao Chen looked up at the sky and narrowed his eyes. He actually felt somewhat dazed. "Stop looking. Bright Moon City is very far from here. If we don't hurry up, we might be late," Ao Jiao reminded him. Xiao Chen withdrew his gaze and smiled faintly. "Right, we do have to hurry up. There cannot be any accidents with the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet." Xiao Chen did not care about the other objectives of the Four Seas Hero Gathering. He only cared about one thing, the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. The Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, which the Qing Emperor personally forged, had to be obtained at all costs. There could be no mistakes. Xiao Chen unfurled the freedom wings, and his figure flashed. His magic energy surged as he took a step forward, traveling 50 kilometers. Bright Moon City was the most bustling city in the entire heavenly starry ocean. Bright Moon City welcomed its highest flow of people in 20 years. Everywhere was packed with people. There was an endless stream of carriages, not stopping for a moment. Fortunately, Bright Moon City was normally extraordinarily bustling. Furthermore, it had held many Four Seas Hero gatherings, so the Lunar Palace was already experienced. 1 month ago, Bright Moon City raised the threshold for entry. Unless one was a martial monarch, one could not enter the city unless they had an invitation. Only after the gathering ended did the city reopen to the public. Aside from this, there were many other eye-catching measures. Floating palaces floated in the sky of the vast and majestic city for people to stay in, alleviating the pressure of the crowd. The venue of the Four Seas Hero Gathering was Bright Moon Plaza in the city. Before the start of the Grand Assembly, there were countless arenas in Bright Moon Plaza. Every day, there would be cultivators sparring on them. This was a rare opportunity for all the young heroes of the Four Seas to gather in one place. Naturally, after they met, they would compete with each other. Exciting fights were always what the spectators loved to watch. Sometimes, famous cultivators would appear and compete with each other. This made people scream in excitement. Aside from the free arenas, the lunar palaces people specially set up several arenas to liven things up. For example, in some special arenas in the air, there would be a reward for how many rounds one could last without losing. Another example was the lunar palace's young cultivators defending the arenas. As long as they defeated their opponents, they would receive a reward. Even if they failed, they would not suffer any losses. The atmosphere of fighting in the entire city was very intense. However, with the Bright Moon Palace's strict management, everything was very orderly. There was no chaos at all. 7 days later, Xiao Chen traveled quickly. Relying on the freedom wings' so close yet worlds apart magic skill, he arrived outside Bright Moon City before the gathering started. Originally, Xiao Chen was somewhat worried that someone would recognize him and attract some trouble. However, he soon realized that no one was paying attention to him amidst the crowd and the bustling scene. Even if there were not 10,000 people dressed in white like Xiao Chen, there were at least 8,000 of them. This was simply too ordinary. Furthermore, the focus of the cultivators' discussion was on the holy signs of the immortal Holy Lands. After walking for so long, no one had mentioned Xiao Chen. Chapter 1094. Xiao Chen was happy to relax. He did not have to wear a conical bamboo hat, which would have been troublesome. The holy scions and holy daughters successfully broke through to the blue-robed emperor realm. This was within Xiao Chen's expectations, so he was not too surprised. When Xiao Chen arrived at the city gates, he released some of his aura and entered the city unobstructed. Xiao Chen had already anticipated that Bright Moon City would be extraordinarily bustling during the Four Seas Hero Gathering. However, when he arrived in the city, he was startled. The scene before him reminded him of the Five-Nation Youth Competition in the Sky Dome realm many years ago. Back then, the scene in Dragon Sealing City was no different from now. It had also been extraordinarily bustling. However, in terms of scale and grandeur, it could not be compared. Xiao Chen revealed a nostalgic expression. During the Five-Nation Youth Competition, Xiao Chen had been reserved and proud. At that time, he had not feared any expert. However, he had not been confident of victory. Along the way, he had taken every battle seriously. After putting in a lot of effort, he had managed to climb to the top after much difficulty. Even now, Xiao Chen remembered the Little Dragon King, Xinyuan Zhantian, Yu Chenxi's Breaking Dawn, Gong Yangyu's Everlasting Universe Staff Technique, and the grudges between Bai Qi and Sima Lingxian. All the more, he could not forget the final battle with Chu Chaoyan. After that, Xiao Chen could finally say loudly, "Those who defeat me will be defeated by me. Those who wish to be defeated cannot be defeated by anyone." Now, Xiao Chen no longer showed a reserved and proud expression. Instead, he showed calmness and confidence. All along, Xiao Chen had felt that his mental state and strength were much higher than these outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean's younger generation. Even though these outstanding talents had become blue-robed emperors and relied on the resources of their sex to become small perfection blue-robed emperors, they were still not enough for Xiao Chen to look at. The reason was none other than the vast difference in mental state, cultivation, and personal accumulations. There was no way to compare them. Ao Jiao, what is the format of the Four Seas Hero Gathering and what are the rules? Following the flow of people in the city, Xiao Chen watched the matches on the stage with great interest while asking Ao Jiao about the details of the Four Seas Hero Gathering. Ao Jiao and Little Yellow Feather were currently taking care of the various spirit trees in the Immortal Spirit Ring. Xiao Chen quickly replied, "I don't recall there being any rules. It is just that whoever can outshine everyone else can snatch the top prize." Xiao Chen stopped and said in surprise, "So casual?" "That's right. Other than the first few who had to deal with the cultivators of the Penglai Sea, there weren't a lot of cultivators." From then on, the Four Seas Hero Gathering has continued very casually. There are no hard and fast rules, and there is no need to go through the complicated format of the preliminaries and finals. Ao Jiao spoke frankly with assurance. Then, she continued, there are no contestants. Every spectator is the main character. As long as you are confident, you can jump into the arena and challenge any of the holy scions. If you win, your name will spread throughout the world. If you lose, you will not be able to avoid physical pain. In serious cases, you might end up with some hidden injuries that will accompany you for life. Xiao Chen asked doubtfully, then there will be close to 1 million spectators. If everyone goes up once, won't it be a mess? The gathering will last for half a month, and it will not be over. Ao Jiao smiled and said, that won't happen. There are experts in the Lunar Palace. Everyone has to survive a palm strike before they can enter. It can be considered a threshold. The threshold for every gathering is different. I believe the threshold for this year will be especially high. Xiao Chen thought to himself, unexpectedly, it is not an elimination competition like the arena competition. To think that the so-called gathering is so casual. It is a competition of individual elegance. This is truly unexpected. Ao Jiao burst out laughing and said, what are you worried about? It is a competition of elegance. However, if one is not strong enough and gets beaten up like a pig's head, how can there be elegance? In the end, it still depends on whose fist is harder. As long as you keep beating up others and not being beaten up, elegance will naturally come out. Xiao Chen understood. That's right. While it is elegance, in the end, it is strength. Suddenly, Xiao Chen frowned. Then, he stretched out his right hand to his shoulder and firmly grasped a wrist. Xiao Chen remained expressionless as he looked back. When he saw the owner of the arm, his pupils constricted, and shock appeared in his eyes. "Brother Qi, it has been a long time." The person who came was Qi Wuxue, whom Xiao Chen had not seen since he parted ways in Neptune's palace. Qi Wuxue smiled embarrassedly and said, "Let go first. The city does not allow private fights. If you still do not let go, the lunar palace's guards will be here soon." When Xiao Chen heard that, he sent out his spiritual sense. Indeed, he saw a few sharp gazes directed at him. If he had any killing qi, he would have taken action immediately. Xiao Chen quickly let go and asked, "Why do I not see Long Fei? Didn't he come with you?" When Qi Wuxue heard that, he smiled jealously. Comparisons are odious. This fellow found an opportunity to break through to the blue-robed emperor and is preparing to show off his skills at the Four Seas Hero Gathering. This brother is barely a great grandmaster-level martial sage. He is currently challenging the 24 bridges. It is a very interesting arena. "Come, Brother Xiao, I'll bring you over to take a look." Seeing Qi Wushue's mysterious appearance piqued Xiao Chen's interest. During the Four Seas Hero Gathering, there were many interesting arenas in Bright Moon City. The next sentence of the 24 moonlit bridges was, "Where can a beautiful person learn how to play the flute?" What was so special about this arena? This Bright Moon City is rather fun. That brat Long Fei is really reckless. I really look forward to seeing how he will be defeated. Qi Wuxue laughed heartlessly. Then, he led Xiao Chen on a mad dash and arrived at a bustling place. Excuse me. Qi Wuxue led Xiao Chen to a quiet, desolate viewing spot, ignoring the supercilious looks from others. Xiao Chen looked to the front and saw an arch bridge carved from white jade on a clear river. The jade bridge was exquisite and ancient, but the beauty on the jade bridge was beautiful. However, the beauties on the jade bridge were even more beautiful than the bridge. They looked even more ancient and ancient. Many white-clad women were outstanding beauties with outstanding grace. When Xiao Chen counted, there were a total of 24 at the end of the jade bridge. A veiled woman stood on the railing of the bridge, playing the flute. The music was melodious and pleasant to the ears. It sounded like she was weeping. The other 23 women held swords in their hands. Their eyes shone with a cold light as they weaved through the jade bridge. Their movements were elegant but filled with murderous intent. Together with the illusory flute music, they performed a murderous dance. Xiao Chen looked into the distance. It was clearly daytime, but a full moon hung high in the sky. The moonlight was like fire, its cold light competing with the sun, completely suppressing the light of the sun. Those familiar with Bright Moon City knew that this was the mysterious and ethereal lunar palace of the heavenly starry ocean. It hung high in the sky all year round, its light forever suppressing the sun. The bright moon, the jade bridge, the flute music, the flowing water, and the sword dance. This scene was very beautiful and pleasing to the eye, making one reluctant to leave. When Xiao Chen returned to the jade bridge, the one bitterly enduring the murderous sword dance of the 23 women was naturally the corpse race's white-bone sovereign's descendant, Long Fei. Qi Wuxue was at the side, nodding and exchanging opinions with Xiao Chen, discussing the various beauties of the women on the bridge. They all have their own specialties. It is really hard to choose. Brother Xiao, help me choose one. This time, I have to bring a lunar palace disciple back to Bright Moon City. Aside from the Holy Daughter, the other female disciples of the lunar palace could marry. Furthermore, the outstanding youths and noble clan disciples of the heavenly starry ocean all took pride in marrying a lunar palace disciple. The matriarchs of several holy lands and noble clans were once lunar palace disciples. From a certain point of view, the lunar palace's special status today seemed to be related to this. However, it would be difficult for Qi Wuxue to marry a female disciple. He could not hide his evil aura. After checking his background, even if the young lady agreed, the lunar palace would not. However, Xiao Chen had never heard of a lunar palace female disciple marrying into the primal chaos domain. Without needing Xiao Chen to refute, someone at the side could no longer bear to listen. Rolling his eyes, he said, "Aside from the Holy Daughter, the lunar palace also has the title of Jade Lady. There are 24 of them in each generation. The 24 people before us are the 24 jade ladies of the lunar palace. These are the daughters-in-law of the many immortal holy lands and noble clans. With your appearance, you want to marry the lunar palace's jade ladies? Stop dreaming. When Qi Wuxue heard this, he smiled faintly and did not get angry. Instead, he sized up this person. This person wore white robes and wore a white hat, looking very scholarly. He held a white folding fan in his hand, looking elegant and handsome. With one look, it was clear that he was a disciple of a Confucian sect. Qi Wuxue leaned over and said with a smile, "You have extraordinary grace and a righteous aura. You should be a disciple of a Confucian sect, right? I have not asked for your great name yet." A trace of pride flashed on the scholar's face. Then he said in a somewhat indifferent tone, "I am untalented. I am Lu Hao, an inner courtyard disciple of the Heavenly Province Academy." Qi Wuxue immediately showed a shocked expression. He exclaimed in an exaggerated manner, "Heavenly Province Academy? To think that you are a disciple of an immortal holy land. I simply could not tell earlier. Sorry. Clearly, Lu Hao felt extremely satisfied with the shock and astonishment on Qi Wuxue's face. He put on an act and waved his hand. "It is just an immortal holy land. Just treat it normally. Also, when facing the lunar palace's jade ladies, you cannot have any profane thoughts. You can look at them from afar, you can praise them, you can admire them. However, you cannot have any dirty thoughts. That is the way of a gentleman." Qi Wuxue nodded and said, "Brother Lu is right. This little brother did have some dirty thoughts earlier. Fortunately, Brother Lu reminded me in time." Xiao Qin, who stood at the side, found it funny. With one look, he knew that Qi Wuxue was trying to con him. However, Xiao Qin could not be bothered to remind Qi Wuxue. He did not have a good impression of this bookworm who spoke of benevolence, righteousness, and morality. As long as Qi Wuxue did not go overboard and cause trouble, it would be fine. Qi Wuxue was a yes man, continuously flattering that Heavenly Province Academy disciple. By now, that Heavenly Province Academy disciple could no longer tell north from south. The two walked to the side and started chatting. "Speaking of which lunar palace's jade lady does Brother Lu admire the most?" Lu Hao had a righteous expression on his face. A fervent look flashed in his eyes as he looked at the girl playing the flute. Naturally, it is the leader of the 24 jade ladies, Miss Fang Qingxian, who excels in both the sword and the flute. Qi Wuxue nodded meaningfully and said, "Miss Fang Qingxian is indeed like a fairy descending to the mortal world. She has an aura that can topple cities. However, I wonder what kind of pretty face she has under the veil." Chapter 1095. The fire in Lu Hao's eyes did not subside, and he said with some reluctance, "It's a pity that Miss Fang Qingxian will only be able to take off her veil after crossing the 20 bridges and have the chance to be alone with her." Looking at the bridge, even with the strength of the blue-robed emperor, Long Fei was having a hard time moving forward. He was on the verge of losing at any moment. He knew that Lu Hao did not stand a chance. Qi Wuxue whispered, "Actually, this little brother has an item that can not only allow Fang Qingxian to remove Brother Lu's veil but also allow her to play the flute for Brother Lu alone." Lu Hao looked at Qi Wuxue doubtfully and asked, "What is it?" "Yin Yang Wonderland's holy medicine, the wondrous pleasure aphrodisiac. As long as you have it and find an opportunity to meet Fang Qingxian, Brother Lu can easily take her down." A look of surprise flashed across Lu Hao's eyes. It was obvious that he had heard of the famous ecstasy potion. However, a look of surprise flashed across his face as he angrily cursed, "Filthy, despicable, vulgar, scram." When Qi Wuxue saw Lu Hao getting angry, he showed a flustered expression as if he was frightened. He quickly said, "This little brother knows his mistake. This little brother knows his mistake. This little brother will take his leave now." Stop. Lu Hao shouted coldly and stopped Qi Wuxue. With a righteous expression, he said, "Hand over your filthy thing. If it remains in your hands, it will definitely harm the women of your maiden clan. Hand it over to this young master." Qi Wuxue appeared depressed, clearly unwilling. Lu Hao said coldly, With one look, I can tell that you do not have a proper background. Indeed, you are not anything good. This filthy thing has to be destroyed. Quickly hand it over. Qi Wuxue reluctantly took out a jade bottle. Lu Hao grabbed it and frowned. He asked doubtfully, "This is the wondrous joy aphrodisiac?" Qi Wuxue smiled harmlessly. Then he sent out some hidden energy and flicked off the bottle cap. He smiled and said, "Whether it is real or fake, young Master Lu will know once you smell it." When the bottle cap was opened, a fragrance immediately wafted out. When Lu Hao heard what Qi Wuxue said, he could not help but take a deep sniff. As if he was addicted, he could not stop once he started. Not long after, Lu Hao's face was flushed red and he felt his body heating up. His mouth was parched and his body was burning with desire. He suddenly startled awake and tossed aside the jade bottle. Then he looked at Qi Wuxue and said, "You tricked me." Qi Wuxue laughed loudly and stepped forward. Then he easily restrained Lu Hao, whose rationality was about to collapse. He said, "How could it be a trap? I am just fulfilling young Master Lu's wishes. Don't you want to meet this Miss Fang Qingxian? I'll help you right now." Then, Qi Wuxue picked up Lu Hao and quickly tossed him to Fang Qingxian, who was on the jade bridge. The effects of the medicinal energy had already taken effect on Lu Hao, who had already lost all reason. His entire being was dominated by desire. When he saw Fang Qingxian, he sped up in the air like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey. His face was filled with lust as he threw himself at Fang Qingxian with a wretched smile. This scene immediately shocked everyone on the Jade Bridge. Unexpectedly, someone dared to do something improper to the leader of the Lunar Palace's Jade Ladies in front of everyone. Fang Qingxian, who had been playing her flute calmly, clearly did not expect such a thing. When she saw Lu Hao's lewd smile in the air, her flute music immediately turned chaotic. A cold light flashed in her eyes. She put down her flute and drew her sword with her right hand. Then, she heavily smacked Lu Hao's face, knocking him into the river. Without the flute music, the murderous sword dance of the 23 white-clad women immediately lost a certain charm, and its might decreased significantly. Long Fei took advantage of this opportunity and waved the folding fan in his hand. Starlight filled the sky, and a white bone dermic incarnation appeared behind Long Fei, its expression solemn and cold. The two large white bone hands of the white bone dermic incarnation flashed quickly. The formation of the 23 white-clad women fell into chaos, all of them dealing with it in a flurry. Long Fei's eyes narrowed. His figure weaved through the crowd and struck them one by one. One by one, the white-clad women were knocked off the jade bridge by Long Fei. On the riverbank, Qi Wuxue picked up the jade bottle and said with a smile, "My treasure, you have rendered a meritorious service again." Xiao Chen walked over and said indifferently, "Give me the jade bottle." Qi Wuxue was stunned when he heard that. Then he chuckled and said, "What's wrong? Brother Xiao, you like this as well?" Xiao Chen smiled and said, "I am different from you. I intend to study it with a critical mind." Qi Wuxue tossed the jade bottle over and smiled. "Brother Xiao is indeed Brother Xiao. The moment you said that, you immediately set yourself apart from that Heavenly Province Academy disciple." After Xiao Chen walked over, he leaned over and said, "In the future, if you have anything good, remember to give it to Brother Qi as well. I want to study it with a critical mind." Xiao Chen opened the bottle cap and took a sip. Then he looked at Qi Wuxue and said, "This is just an intense aphrodisiac, not some wondrous joy aphrodisiac." Qi Wuxue was dumbfounded as he watched from the side. He had not expected Xiao Chen to dare to directly drink it. He had no choice but to admit defeat. "You are incredible. Naturally, this is not the wondrous joy aphrodisiac. The wondrous joy aphrodisiac is a holy medicine of the yin-yang paradise. Aphrodisiac is just one of its functions. The more important thing is that it can harmonize yin and yang, nourishing each other. When used with the yin-yang paradise's dual cultivation technique, it has a miraculous effect." As Qi Wuxue spoke, Xiao Chen took another sip. As Qi Wuxue spoke, he became speechless. He was stunned once more, not knowing what Xiao Chen was doing. "Brother Xiao, Don't do anything stupid. Although this is not the wondrous joy aphrodisiac, its pure aphrodisiac effect is even more tyrannical than the wondrous joy aphrodisiac. I do not have an antidote, Qi Wuxue said anxiously. Who would have imagined that Xiao Chen would only blush slightly? He did not seem to notice anything strange. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and circulated his energy for a while. Then, strands of smoke appeared above Xiao Chen's head. After a while, he opened his eyes, and he returned to normal. Xiao Chen looked at Qi Wuxue seriously and said, Brother Qi, although unorthodox methods can achieve miraculous results, they are not omnipotent at times. Before absolute strength, everything else is just a fabrication. It is fine to use it occasionally. However, do not get too engrossed in it. Otherwise, one day, you will die because of these unorthodox methods. Once you reach small perfection of the blue-robed emperor, these aphrodisiacs and poisons will not pose any danger to you. With the power of the heavenly laws, you can break down these medicines as you please. With just a thought, you can decide whether you want them to work or not. You can easily paralyze your opponent. Qi Wuxue suddenly startled awake. He understood Xiao Chen's intention, to treat him as a friend. Xiao Chen used the most realistic example to tell himself not to use these unorthodox methods. This also reminded Qi Wuxue not to use these methods on experts above small perfection Emperor Wu. Otherwise, the other party would make a fool out of him. Seeing Qi Wuxue enter deep thought, Xiao Chen knew that he had already achieved his goal. Back in the Sea Deity Palace, Qi Wushue's cultivation was no weaker than Long Fei's. However, Long Fei had reached the blue-robed emperor ahead of him, while Qi Wuxue was still a great grandmaster-level martial sage. The two of them had been together for a long time. Why was there a difference? It was definitely not because Qi Wushue's fortuitous encounter had not arrived. Instead, it was because Qi Wuxue was somewhat engrossed in these unorthodox methods. Hence, Xiao Chen reminded the other party. Whether it was useful or not, at the very least, he took action and did not watch Qi Wuxue get engrossed. Qi Wuxue recovered his wits and smiled. Brother Xiao, thank you for your kind intentions earlier. Originally, Long Fei had been trying to dissuade me. However, I did not take it to heart. Earlier, I did feel like I woke up from a dream. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, It's good that you understand. However, I like your earlier style. These hypocrites, who are hypocrites and like to pretend to be elegant, should be taught a ruthless lesson. Qi Wuxue chuckled and said, This kind of sanctimonious people are all like that. However, you seem to have let Long Fei off easy. After he passes this special arena of the 24 bridges, he will be able to meet a beauty. Xiao Chen glanced at the Jade Bridge and changed the topic. Long Fei smiled and said, It will not be that easy. Fang Qingxian, who is guarding the end, is the greatest problem. The reputation of excelling in both the flute and the sword is not just for show. After defeating all 23 women, Long Fei finally arrived at the end of the Jade Bridge. Now, he faced the leader of the Lunar Palace's Jade Ladies, Fang Qingxian, excelling in both the flute and the sword. Fang Qingxian blocked in front of Long Fei with her sword. Her expression was cold, and no one could see her true expression. Long Fei felt somewhat infatuated with her. He smiled and said, Miss Qingxian, will you show mercy? When I was still in the Kunlun continent, I heard of Mrs. Name and have admired you for a long time. Fang Qingxian replied in a melodious voice, I am indebted to young master's favor. However, rules are rules. Since young master is able to cross this bridge, Qingxian will naturally abide by her promise. Long Fei withdrew his smile and said sullenly, In that case, I can only offend you. Just at this moment, water splashed in the river below the bridge. Lu He, who Fang Qingxian had slapped back into the river earlier, leaped out again. Drenched, he pounced at Fang Qingxian like a madman. Fang Qingxian had no choice but to make another move, knocking him into the water. When he came back to his senses, he discovered that Long Fei had already taken the opportunity to fly out of the bridge. Qi Wuxue shouted, Damn! He really got off easy. Long Fei turned around and said calmly, Miss Qingxian, I have already crossed the bridge. Fang Qingxian smiled faintly and said, Aren't you embarrassed to say that? Don't you feel like you took advantage of a loophole? Long Fei was rather thick-skinned. He took out an engraved medallion and smiled without changing his expression. I can only say that the heavens are helping me. Who could have imagined that the normally well-dressed Confucian sect disciple would be such a beast in human clothing? I hope that Miss Qingxian will not stand me up tonight. Fang Qingxian took the nameplate, which had Long Fei's address written on it. She glanced at it and put it away. Just as he was about to speak, Lu Hao leapt out from the river once again, like an unkillable cockroach. Fang Qingxian frowned slightly. Just as she was about to deal a heavy blow, a figure suddenly flew over, moving incredibly fast. That person quickly landed 3 palm strikes on Lu Hao's chest, causing him to vomit a mouthful of black blood. The flush on his face receded. When he looked at the person who arrived, he immediately said excitedly, "First senior brother, someone tricked me." The person who arrived was the top expert of the Heavenly Province Academy's younger generation, young Master Qingshu, who was currently in the limelight. Young Master Qingshu did not say anything. He bent over and checked Lu Hao's body. Then, he said indifferently, "My Confucian sect is righteous. We have a strong restraining effect on such evil beings. If not for your own evil intentions, you would not have lost your mind so quickly. You asked for it." After saying that, young Master Qingshu turned to Fang Qingxian and said, "Miss Fang, this time, our academy's disciples have offended you. The Heavenly Province Academy will not object to any punishment from the Lunar Palace." Young Master Qingshu's words were very appropriate, and no one could find fault with them. Chapter 1096. Fang Qingxian said indifferently, "I'm fine. Just take care of your sect's disciples." Young Master Qingshu performed a cupped fist salute in thanks. Then, he shifted his gaze and looked in the direction Lu Hao pointed. When he saw Qi Wuxue, his expression turned completely sullen. This time, young Master Qingshu was having a small gathering with the inheritors of the Holy Lands, Fu Hongyao, and the others. Suddenly, he received news that an academy disciple went berserk in the 24 bridges, so he immediately rushed over. After young Master Qingshu figured out the situation, he became enraged. To think that someone dared to scheme against the Heavenly Province Academy. Just as young Master Qingshu was about to make a move, he suddenly noticed the white figure beside Qi Wuxue. Feeling somewhat surprised, he said coldly, "I was wondering who was so bold, daring to scheme against the people of my Heavenly Province Academy. It turns out that the Blue Dragon King ordered it." Unexpectedly, the righteous Blue Dragon King would do such a despicable thing. Upon hearing young Master Qingshu's words, everyone immediately looked at Xiao Qin, finding this inconceivable. To think that the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Qin, was so ordinary, like a passerby. They had not noticed him for so long. Fang Qingxuan's eyes lit up. She immediately looked at Xiao Qin and revealed an expression of shock. "Damn! Can you stop making irresponsible remarks? That medicine is your Heavenly Province Academy disciple. He snatched it from me and wanted to frame the Lunar Palace's jade ladies. What does that have to do with us?" Qi Wuxue scolded. Lu Hao panicked. His brain was not working properly, so he blurted out, "First senior brother, listen to my explanation. It was that brat who said that the medicine was the wondrous joy aphrodisiac. That's why I fell for it. You really can't blame me." When Fang Qingxian heard that, her expression changed. She scolded angrily, "What a perverted thief!" Qi Wuxue laughed loudly and said, "Everyone, did you hear that?" He admitted it himself. If that young Master Qingshu can still distinguish right from wrong, you should clean up your sect. Young Master Qingshu said coldly, "You speak without thinking. Do you really think that a has-been Blue Dragon King can protect you?" That young Master Qingshu understood that he could not get entangled with a person like Qi Wuxue. The more he spoke, the worse the situation would become. So, he could not be bothered to say anything more. His figure flashed, and he closed the folding fan in his hand as he charged at Qi Wuxue. Qi Wuxue was somewhat surprised by young Master Qingshu's sudden attack. Bright Moon City strictly forbade private fights. If there were grudges, they could fight in the arena in the city. The prerequisite was that both parties had to be willing. Otherwise, if they acted on their own, they would be punished by Bright Moon City. Clearly, this young Master Qingshu wanted to use his status to kill Qi Wuxue in one strike. At that time, Qi Wuxue would already be dead. Even if Bright Moon City punished him, there would be nothing to fear. Could it be that he, the successor of an immortal Holy Land, was really going to be thrown out? Young Master Qingshu moved very fast. Qi Wuxue could not even catch his shadow. Long Fei, who was behind the Jade Bridge, could not make it in time to help. In the time it took for a spark to fly, an intense clash resounded in the surroundings, startling Qi Wuxue. He discovered that Xiao Chen was blocking in front of him. Xiao Chen also held a folding fan in his hand. He folded it and pressed it against the top of young Master Qingshu's folding fan. Young Master Qingshu did not appear surprised. He smiled and said, "In the past, when you were still a blue-robed emperor, I was somewhat afraid of you. Now that I am also a small perfection blue-robed emperor, do I still fear you?" It seemed like young Master Qingshu intended to test out Xiao Chen's strength. After failing to injure Qi Wuxue in one strike, he immediately targeted Xiao Chen. "Pu Qi!" Young Master Qingshu suddenly opened the folding fan in his hand. His fingers moved slightly, and the unfurled folding fan danced like flower petals, spiraling up. As the folding fan rose, the righteous qi on young Master Qingshu's body grew increasingly stronger. His aura soared continuously. A mysterious phenomenon appeared behind him. The bamboo and small bridges drawn on the folding fan appeared one by one. The spirited righteous qi looked like bamboo standing tall. Xiao Chen took a look and opened the folding fan in his hand as well. Then he gently pushed it forward, and the folding fan floated up. The small bridge, the flowing water, the bright moon, and other mysterious phenomena appeared as well. The two both had a bridge under their feet. However, the mysterious phenomena behind them were different. One had a bright moon, and the other had emerald green bamboo. The two rising folding fans faced each other, competing with their strong auras and mysterious phenomena. The two on the bridge did not remain idle, either. They quickly exchanged attacks, exchanging punches and palms, dealing with moves as they came. Xiao Chen felt somewhat surprised. This young Master Qingshu's palm technique was rather exquisite. Furthermore, it contained a righteous qi that resonated with the bamboo behind him, complementing each other. If Xiao Chen did not bring out his true abilities, he would not be able to do anything to this young Master Qingshu for a while. However, this was not the time to expose his strength. There were many eyes in this place. Xiao Chen noticed that the experts of Bright Moon City had already arrived silently. For some reason, those experts did not make a move to stop the two from fighting. Apart from that, there were also several powerful auras rushing over. Some of them had terrifying righteous qi, and their cultivation bases were extremely high. With one look, it was clear that these were the Heavenly Province Academy's experts. Hence, Xiao Chen was not in a rush. He just treated it as playing with the other party. As for young Master Qingshu's clamoring, Xiao Chen just laughed it off. As an adult, would you be angry at a brat showing his teeth? Clearly not. Right now, that was Xiao Chen's mental state. He did not feel angry at all. Compared to Xiao Chen's surprise, young Master Qingshu was utterly shocked. He had already brought out 60% of his strength, even bringing out his will of wood. However, Xiao Chen, who was fighting him, seemed unaffected. He did not even bring out the saber Dao that he was most proficient in. After exchanging 100 moves, Xiao Chen lost the patience to continue playing. Suddenly he changed his moves. He used fists, claws, and palms, executing 3 different moves. Xiao Chen did not increase his strength at all, but his moves became unpredictable and strange. The fist was the Kuan Pang spreading wings, the claw was the craggy dragon claw, and the palm technique was the bright moon-like fire. Xiao Chen took the essence of each and ingeniously merged them together. This was the first time young Master Qingshu saw such a move. He immediately felt overwhelmed, opening up many openings. If young Master Qingshu knew what was good for him, he would have quickly retreated at this moment. However, young Master Qingshu was not convinced. He still wanted to clash with Xiao Chen, to determine who was stronger with fists and palms. Seeing that the other party wanted to fight for real, Xiaochen found an opening and punched young Master Qingshu's chest. The fist turned into a claw, then a palm. With just one contact, Xiaochen sent out 3 different kinds of energy. Young Master Qingshu grunted and fell to the ground. The ancient wooden bridge under his feet shattered, and the bamboo for 5 kilometers around exploded like firecrackers. The mysterious phenomenon spread out. Xiaochen stretched out his hand, and the folding fan landed in his grasp. The bright moon, exquisite flowing water, and many other mysterious phenomena combined into a charming illusion that entered the fan. Xiaochen gently fanned himself with his folding fan, and his white robes fluttered as he descended. His casual movements gave everyone a sense of carefreeness that was pleasing to the eye. After young Master Qingshu landed, he clearly did not expect that after becoming the blue-robed emperor after much difficulty and exhausting many of the sect's resources, he would still suffer a great loss at Xiaochen's hands. Young Master Qingshu waved his hand and grasped his folding fan. His aura suddenly changed, rising again as he prepared to fight with all his might. Enough! Young Master Qingshu, don't forget where this is, Qingxian said coldly from the Jade Bridge. Young Master Qingshu's expression changed. Finally he calmed down. Then he looked at Xiaochen and said, I know why you are here. You want to take away the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet in the 4 Seas Hero Gathering 3 days from now. I will absolutely not let you do as you wish. Xiaochen smiled faintly and said, I'm just afraid that you do not have that ability. The Blue Dragon King is still as arrogant as ever. A cold snort rang out. A large group of outstanding youths flew over from the northeast. The holy scions of the Zodiac Hall, the 5 Poison Sect, the divine dragon palaces of the 4 seas, the Yin-Yang Paradise, and the myriad Fiend Island all appeared together. There were also the young treasure master Yi Ling, the Lunar Palace's holy daughter, Yu Bingyun, and some of the veteran outstanding talents of the previous 5 Seas Hero Gathering. Clearly, someone had gathered this group of outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean earlier. Chu Yang stepped forward and looked at Xiaochen below. He said indifferently, I was wondering why Brother Qingshu was gone for so long. It turns out that you are still around. The 5 Poison Sect's holy scion said coldly, You are just a has-been genius of the Kunlun continent, yet you dare to be so unbridled in our heavenly starry ocean. Do you really think that we outstanding talents are just decorations? The crowd below became restless. Unexpectedly, the commotion on the 24 bridges attracted so many outstanding talents. Furthermore, several of the holy scions seemed to be prejudiced against Xiaochen, not acknowledging him as an outsider. Xiaochen sized up the group of people in the air. They all had different expressions, but they all appeared to be in high spirits, full of pride and arrogance. He understood that when these people fought for the source of despair in Despair City, they were all shocked by the strength he displayed. Several people wanted to challenge him, but they were not confident. Now that he had advanced to the blue-robed emperor, they were naturally eager to step on him. Xiaochen, things seem to have gotten a little out of hand, Qi Wuxue, who was at the side, said in a soft voice, finding it hard to control himself. Xiaochen replied calmly, They will not dare to act rashly in Bright Moon City. Let's go. After saying that, Xiaochen ignored the mockery of the holy science. He called out to Long Fei and prepared to leave. Such an attitude immediately angered several people. Several of them could not hold back and wanted to make a move. When Yu Bingyun saw the situation, she said indifferently, Bright Moon City prohibits private fights. If you have any grudges, wait until the 4 Seas Hero Gathering 3 days from now. Chu Yang snorted coldly and glanced coldly at Xiaochen's back. Then he flicked his sleeves and left. What Blue Dragon King? He is just a coward. The 5 Poison Sect's holy scion mocked and left with his head held high. The many other outstanding talents also scoffed at Xiaochen's actions. They felt that he was afraid, which was why he did not dare to face them. Soon, the news of the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen, who had been missing for 9 months, appearing in Bright Moon City spread like wildfire. Earlier, several people guessed that Xiaochen, who had only 20 years left to live, would absolutely not appear. When a person received such grievous news and faced heavy mental pressure, not to mention improving their strength, it would already be a good thing if they did not regress. Right now, Xiao Chen was like the setting sun in the west, the setting sun. Chapter 1097. As for the outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean, they were like the sun rising from the east. The blazing sun blazed like fire, growing stronger by the day. What was there to compare? Xiao Chen had come to Bright Moon City just to let a group of outstanding talents who had advanced to blue-robed emperor trample on him and soar, ruining his reputation. Long Fei and Qi Wuxue arrived at Bright Moon City a month ago. They were luckier than most people and managed to rent a quiet and elegant courtyard. The three chatted, talking about the past after they parted. Both sides had their own fortuitous encounters. Long Fei and Qi Wushue's luck should be pretty good. They had visited several forbidden lands in the Eastern Sea and gained pretty good harvests. Long Fei relied on an even more persistent and determined character than Qi Wushue's. His talent was not bad in the first place, so he successfully advanced to Quasi-Emperor 3 months ago. Xiao Chen also gave a simple account of his encounters in the heavenly starry ocean. Then he expressed his gratitude for the clue to the despair throne that Long Fei gave him. It's just a small matter. I simply could not take out a proper congratulatory gift, so I used this to deceive them. When speaking of this matter, Long Fei smiled embarrassedly, telling Xiao Chen not to stand on ceremony. Qi Wuxue interjected, "Oh right, Xiao Chen, didn't you obtain a conferred land? When are you going to bring us over to play?" Xiao Chen smiled and said, "After this Four Seas hero gathering, the two of you can come with me to Heavenly Star Island." Long Fei hesitated for a while before saying, "I'm afraid I can't go." Xiao Chen understood that he had just advanced to blue-robed emperor and needed a large amount of resources to break through to small perfection. He needed to rush back to the corpse race to seek the support of his clan. Long Fei could advance to blue-robed emperor at such a young age. His future in the corpse race would definitely be bright. The corpse god palace would definitely use a large amount of resources to nurture him. Qi Wuxue smiled and said, "You finally made it. Perhaps even the heaven-punishing corpse god's first disciple is no match for you now." Long Fei was silent for a while, then he shook his head and said, "It's not that simple. Aside from me, the younger generation of the corpse god palace have all gone to the star battlefield. Their growth is very fast. The heaven-punishing corpse god's disciple has already advanced to the blue-robed emperor half a year ago." Xiao Chen knew a little about the younger generation of the Kunlun continent going to the astral battlefield, but it was extremely limited. As for what was going on, he had no idea at all. Based on Long Fei's words, it seemed like the corpse god palace had made arrangements in the heavenly starry ocean as well, allowing him to easily obtain information about this. Xiao Chen asked, "Did the younger generation of the Kunlun continent's 5 domains really go to the astral battlefield?" Long Fei sighed softly, "They all went. However, that place is really not a good place. From what I know, more than half of the outstanding youths have already died in the astral battlefield, never to return. The physical and combat talents of the high-level demons are much stronger than ours. Only the god race and a few powerful ancient races can fight them head-on. Right, there's one thing you need to pay special attention to." Feeling curious, Xiao Chen asked, "What is it?" Long Fei said seriously, "Your old opponent, Di Wuk, is probably the person who matured the fastest in the astral battlefield. Since he made his debut, he has never been defeated. After losing to you once, he truly matured." Xiao Chen picked up his wine cup and took a sip. Then he said, "That suits me. I also hope to have a fair fight with him." During the king conferral ceremony, Di Wuk had taken advantage of the chaos to suppress Xiao Chen while he was fighting with the descendants of the other primes. As for Xiao Chen, he had relied on Ao Jiao's sudden appearance to turn the tables. In the end, the two had not truly fought to their heart's content. Qi Wuxue said indignantly, "These so-called holy scions of the heavenly starry ocean are truly frogs in a well. They always think that they are very incredible. In the end, they are nothing compared to the outstanding talents of our Kunlun continent." Clearly, Qi Wuxue still remembered the earlier threat from the Heavenly Province Academy's young master Qingshu. Long Fei smiled and said, "You can't say that. In terms of overall standards, the outstanding talents of the Heavenly Starry Ocean are definitely weaker than the peak outstanding talents of the various races of the 5 domains. However, there are always oddities everywhere. You cannot underestimate them. I think that the inheritors of the immortal Holy Lands and the disciples of the large clans are not weak. They cannot be underestimated." Qi Wuxue knew that Long Fei was right. However, he still felt unconvinced. He shouted, "Brother Xiao, help me teach this group of outstanding talents a lesson in the 4 Seas Hero Gathering 3 days from now, especially that young Master Qingshu. Let's see if he dares to be so arrogant in the Primal Chaos domain." Xiao Chen smiled and did not say anything. Suddenly, he raised his eyebrows and put down his wine cup. "Someone is here." Long Fei asked, finding this strange. "Who would come here? Is it to look for Brother Xiao? Should Wuxue and I leave?" Xiao Chen shook his head and looked at Long Fei. "There's no need. The ones who should leave are me and Wuxue. Your Miss Qingxian is here." "What? Fang Qingxian is coming? I'll go and welcome her. I'll go and welcome her." When Qi Wuxue heard Xiao Chen's words, he reacted even faster than Long Fei. He did not look like he wanted to leave at all. Long Fei, on the other hand, appeared calm. Finding this strange, he said, "That should not be the case." Qi Wuxue still had some self-awareness. He had used a trick to cross the 24 bridges. Furthermore, when he gave the engraved medallion, Fang Qingxian did not say that she was coming. Soon, Fang Qingxian and Qi Wuxue arrived at the courtyard. Long Fei quickly stood up and walked over. Then, he performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Unexpectedly, Miss Fang came as promised." Fang Qingxian smiled softly and said, "No matter what, rules are rules." Young Master Long broke the Jade Bridge Bright Moon formation. Naturally, Qingxian will abide by the rules. After saying that, Fang Qingxian removed her veil, revealing a nearly perfect face that no one could find any flaws. Under the moonlight, she looked even more serene and serene. Qi Wuxue and Long Fei were immediately stunned, unable to shift their gazes away. As Xiao Chen drank, he raised his head and took a look. He praised her in his heart. She is indeed a rare beauty. She has her own unique charm. The leader of the Lunar Palace's Jade Ladies truly lives up to her reputation. Long Fei startled awake and hid his flustered expression. Then he smiled and said, "Have a seat. This courtyard is simple and crude, and there is nothing to entertain Miss Fang with. You guys chat. Wuxue and I have some matters to attend to, so we'll leave first." Xiao Chen smiled and put down his wine cup. Then he pulled Qi Wuxue, who was unwilling to leave, away from this place, creating a chance for Long Fei and Fang Qingxian to be alone. After they left, Qi Wuxue sighed, "I gave a great beauty to Long Fei for nothing. This is really a great loss." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Actually, you have to think on the bright side. If Long Fei and Fang Qingxian really have a chance, your chances of finding a Lunar Palace disciple will be much higher." Qi Wuxue smiled and said, "There are thousands of female disciples in the Lunar Palace. However, who can compare to Fang Qingxian? Wait, that's not right. The Holy Daughter can. Unfortunately, the Holy Daughter cannot marry." As they chatted and laughed, the two returned to their respective rooms. Xiao Chen maintained his good habits. After he returned to his room, he continued cultivating. Right now, his cultivation had already reached the peak of small perfection blue-robed emperor. If he wanted to advance further, a Holy Spirit vein would no longer be able to help him. 10,000 heavenly sage laws gave him a foundation that rivaled that of an ancient martial emperor when he entered the blue-robed emperor. However, this foundation was too great, resulting in his breakthroughs at every stage. All of them required countless more resources than ordinary cultivators. For example, if he did not have a king spirit vein, he would not be able to break through to great perfection blue-robed emperor. To merge his heavenly seal, he could only rely on time to slowly accumulate and break through bit by bit. However, what Xiao Chen lacked the most was time. As for a king spirit vein, Not to mention whether he could find it or not, Xiaochen knew his limits. Even if he found it, he would not be able to subdue it. For now, Xiaochen could only place his hopes on the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. When the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation broke through to the 8th layer, he would see if he could break through the bottleneck of the Great Perfection Blue-Robed Emperor. However, when Xiaochen thought about the lightning tribulation he encountered when breaking through to the 7th layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, the 8th layer would definitely be extraordinary. Dong, dong, dong. In the middle of the night, someone knocked on Xiaochen's door. Xiaochen opened his eyes and stopped cultivating. Then he opened the door. The one who knocked was the Lunar Palace's Jade Lady, Fang Qingxian. Xiaochen smiled and said, "It is late at night. Miss Qingxian, why are you here instead of returning to the Lunar Palace?" Fang Qingxian smiled and said, "Young Master Xiao, it looks like you are not as cold and emotionless as rumored. To think that you can make such a joke. I am here to invite young Master Xiao to accompany me to the Lunar Palace." The Lunar Palace was that bright moon in the sky. It seemed like it was unreachable to ordinary people. Even the honored guests of the immortal Holy Lands rarely heard of it. Xiaochen felt somewhat curious, wondering if he heard wrong. "In that case, I am truly honored." Xiaochen did not hesitate to agree. He had always been curious about the Lunar Palace taking out the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet as a gift. Since there was a chance, naturally, it would be great if he could make a trip to the real Lunar Palace. As for the danger, there was no need to think about it. If the Lunar Palace wanted to harm him, there were countless opportunities to kill him in Bright Moon City. There was no need to go to such lengths. Fang Qingxian asked curiously, "Although the Lunar Palace has not invited a male for many years, you should not care about this. Why would you feel honored?" Xiaochen smiled helplessly. He had run into a serious lady, so it was not good for him to say too much. He pointed to the front, indicating that she should just lead the way and not say anything else. "There's no need. I have a jade talisman and can send you over now. Without a jade talisman, even if you are Emperor Wu, you can forget about entering the Lunar Palace." Fang Qingxuan's tone contained some pride as she took out a bright moon jade talisman. Then she looked at Xiaochen and said, "Extend your hand." Xiaochen sized up the other party doubtfully. Then he extended his hand. Fang Qingxian grasped the jade talisman with her left hand and grasped Xiaochen's hand with her right. After activating the jade talisman, Fang Qingxuan's body lit up with light. Then she carried Xiaochen away in a flash, disappearing from where they were. This was not the first time Xiaochen saw such a talisman. So, he did not find it strange. However, when he felt a chill, he felt a chill. When he felt a chill, Xiaochen opened his eyes and looked around. He discovered that he and Fang Qingxian had appeared on a tall platform. There was a complicated transportation formation under their feet. There was a girl standing guard in each corner. When they saw Fang Qingxian, they bowed gently. "Greetings, Senior Sister Fang." Fang Qingxian let go of Xiaochen's hand and waved at her junior sisters. Then she said calmly, "Follow me. Don't wander off." Chapter 1098. Xiaochen was looking around curiously. When he heard this, he quickly followed. A faint layer of cold qi rose from the ground of the Lunar Palace, looking like an immortal fog lingering. However, it was exceptionally cold. Even with Xiaochen's current cultivation, he felt a chill. This showed how cold it was. Fortunately, the Lunar Palace was filled with flowers and leaves. Occasionally, bell-like laughter came from the women moving about, driving away much of the chill in the Lunar Palace. Indeed, it was as Fang Qingxian said, there was not a single man in this place. Xiaochen's appearance was very eye-catching. Along the way, several young maidens pointed at him and whispered to each other. Xiaochen's sixth senses were very sharp. He could clearly hear all the whispers. He did not know whether to laugh or cry when he heard some of them, so he stopped paying attention to them. Fang Qingxian, who was leading the way, stopped. Xiaochen stopped as well. When he looked ahead, he saw an exquisite and beautiful palace made of white jade. The palace gates were heavily guarded. There were 1,000 steps of white jade, and there was a guard every 10 steps. There were two long lines of pretty girls carrying swords on their backs. "Senior Sister Fong, you are finally here," a girl said to Fong Qingxian as she walked down the steps gracefully. Then, she sized up Xiaoqun curiously and asked, "Are you the Azure Dragon King Xiaoqun?" Fong Qingxian nodded. "You are the Azure Dragon King Xiaoqun?" Before Xiaoqun could answer, Fong Qingxian smiled and said, "Junior Sister Lan, there is no need to verify it. He is the one. You brought him up." I was just asking casually. Come with me." At this point, Fong Qingxian no longer stepped forward, letting Xiaoqun enter alone. After climbing the 1,000 steps, Xiaoqun looked up and saw the words, "Meditation Moon Palace," on the palace gates. Xiaoqun paused for a moment. The words on the palace gates gave him a familiar feeling, making him feel exceptionally close. "You may go in." The girl leading the way pushed open the doors and invited Xiaoqun in. Xiaoqun withdrew his gaze and walked in with large strides. The palace gates slowly closed behind him, but he did not see a single person in the palace. Just as he was feeling suspicious, "Young Master Xiao, we meet again." A familiar voice rang out. Yu Bingyun appeared from the back door, holding the arm of an old woman with a head full of white hair. The old woman's strength was unfathomable. Hidden within her frail body was a power that could destroy all things, causing Xiaoqun to shiver. However, there was a smell of decay on their bodies, and they were lethargic. They were no different from the three great fiends Xiaoqun met in Despair City. This was a sign of one's lifespan reaching its end, about to pass away in meditation. Unless one had exceptional spiritual medicines, it would be difficult for them to continue living. Furthermore, the old woman before them looked much older than the three old demons. Time and the marks left on her body were even deeper. Even a divine medicine that could extend one's lifespan would not have any effect on this old woman. Yu Bingyun whispered, "Master, he is the descendant of the Qing Emperor, the Blue Dragon King Xiaoqun." The old woman's footsteps waned. As she looked at Xiaoqun, she revealed a gentle smile. Her eyes filled with reminiscence as she said in a somewhat hoarse voice, "Bingyun, withdraw first. I want to speak with him alone." Yu Bingyun smiled faintly at Xiaoqun before withdrawing. Now, only Xiaoqun and the old woman before him remained in the spacious jade-white palace. "Young man, will you accompany this old woman for a chat?" Xiaoqun did not dare to delay. He nodded in agreement and walked over to help the old woman to a stone table in the corner of the palace. The old woman's voice trembled somewhat as she asked several questions about the Xiao clan in the lower realm. Xiaoqun did not understand, but he still explained everything in detail. As the old woman listened, tears flowed out of her eyes. She smiled bitterly and said, "What a distant memory. Back then, the ancestor of the Ying clan and I escorted your Xiao clan away. In the blink of an eye, another 10,000 years have passed. When I was alive, I was glorious. After I left, I did not expect that Xiaoqun's line would fall into such dire straits." Xiaoqun was shocked. Was the person the old woman mentioned referring to the Qing Emperor of the past? Could it be that she had met the Qing Emperor before? Or did the two of them have some sort of interaction? That was impossible. There was only one person from the same era as the Qing Emperor, the Thunder King. 10,000 years after the Qing Emperor died, he was still alive, shaking the world with his might. The Thunder King was already a miracle, a living legend, an immortal myth. It was impossible for there to be a second person from the same era as the Qing Emperor to be alive in this world. Even sovereign martial emperors could only live for 5,000 years. Only primes could live for more than 10,000 years. However, after 10,000 years, there would be a tribulation every year, known as the 10,000-year tribulation. Every time one survived a 10,000-year tribulation, the next one would double in intensity. Tribulation after tribulation was difficult. No one could survive it forever. Regular primes could only survive 9-10,000-year tribulation at most. Only the Thunder King was an exception. No one knew how he managed to survive for several thousand years in one go. Wait, it might not be impossible. Xiaoqun thought of the lunar palace's longevity art. That profound cultivation technique was still fresh in his memory. The old lady continued to ask questions about Xiaoqun, and they were all about himself. Xiao Chun suppressed the questions in his heart and told the old woman about his encounters in the past few years. It is like how he was back then, surrounded by enemies. However, he suffered even more than you did when he was young. At that time, the deity race was far stronger than it is now. The land of the three holy masters was also much more glorious than it is now. At that time, the fiend race had fiend gods. The corpse god palace and the ghost race were much more high profile than they are now. However, he killed them all by himself. He killed anyone who was not convinced. He destroyed the souls of many primes. Countless sovereign martial emperors fell to his saber. He personally massacred a glorious age of geniuses. Xiao Chun had heard a little about the Qing emperor's methods. Back then, the Qing emperor had made too many enemies. After he died mysteriously, the dragon's gate crumbled overnight. However, the words of others were not as shocking as the old woman's. It was like a bloody scene appeared before Xiao Chun's eyes. At this point, Xiao Chun no longer doubted the old woman's identity. The vicissitudes in the old woman's words and the sorrow in her expression were not something that could be faked easily. If you were given another chance, would you regret announcing your identity as the Qing emperor's descendant on the proud son of heaven ranking? The old woman changed the topic, asking Xiao Chun a question. That was the turning point for Xiao Chun in the Kunlun realm. Since then, he had been facing heavy pressure. It could even be said that everything that happened now stemmed from that time when he publicly acknowledged his identity as the Qing emperor's descendant. However, he did not regret it at all. Xiao Chun said calmly, "I don't regret it." The old woman did not ask why. She stood up tremblingly and sighed, "You don't regret it?" That's right. From the moment you awakened the blue dragon martial spirit, you were destined not to regret it. Seeing that the old woman was about to leave, no longer interested in continuing the conversation, Xiao Chun quickly stood up. He still had many questions that he had not asked. However, the moment he stood up, he did not know which to ask. As the old woman slowly walked away, about to disappear around the corner of the palace, Xiao Chun asked, "Senior, can you tell me how the Qing emperor died back then?" The old woman did not turn around. She only let out a drawn-out sigh. "Do you think that such a tyrannical person will have a good end? Since that is the case, it is better not to know." "Senior." Feeling anxious, Xiao Chun stepped forward and called out again. "Young Master Xiao, Master is tired. Let her rest." Yu Bingyun appeared and advised Xiao Chun, not letting him continue. It was not easy to meet such a person. In the end, it was the other party who kept asking him questions. After asking for so long, when Xiao Chun wanted to ask, the other party had already left. Xiao Chun felt it was a pity. However, he was not a person who liked to force things, so he just shook his head and let it go. "I can answer young Master Zhao's question." Xiao Chun's eyes lit up as he looked at Yu Bingyun with some disbelief. Yu Bingyun said calmly, "Actually, you should be able to guess how the Qing emperor died. Just look at why so many holy lands and major characters want to kill you, and you will know." Xiao Chun asked, "You mean to say that people surrounded and killed the Qing emperor?" Yu Bingyun nodded and said, "Why are there no traces of the Qing emperor's death? That is because the various holy lands are too ashamed to record it. In every era, there will be a martial emperor who can sweep through the world, gathering the heavenly Tao's luck and becoming unrivaled. The era 10,000 years ago was the Qing emperor. The era before the Qing emperor was the Tianwu emperor, who founded the Tianwu dynasty. Back then, for some reason, the Qing emperor fell out with the Tianwu emperor's inheritor, resulting in a huge battle. This battle not only shocked everyone, even destroying the Tianwu dynasty that the many factions of the Kunlun realm feared, but it also ended the legend of the Qing emperor. Xiao Chun nodded. He knew about this. In the end, the Qing emperor won. He even saw the heavenly flame's origin flame that the Qing emperor used the deity sovereign's blood to seal in the Blue Dragon Palace. After that, the Tianwu dynasty vanished like smoke in the vast demonic calamity, becoming the legend and history of the Sky Dome realm. As for what happened after that, Xiao Chun was not clear. The records of the various factions stopped there as well. Then, they suddenly jumped to the Qing emperor's death and the destruction of the Dragon's Gate. "I know all this." I want to know what happened after that. Yu Bingyun did not rush to answer. Instead, she said, "Come with me." Xiaochen followed Yu Bingyun all the way to a staircase. Then, they followed the staircase up and arrived at the top of the Meditation Moon Palace. Standing there, Xiaochen could vaguely make out the silhouette of Bright Moon City. There were tens of thousands of lanterns lit up there, looking as bustling as ever. Yu Bingyun looked down and said, "Even if the descendants of the Tianwu Emperor are not as strong as their ancestors, they are not to be trifled with. Furthermore, they have the horrifying heavenly flame. Although the Qing Emperor killed the last Tianwu dynasty martial emperor, he was significantly injured. After that, he was surrounded by the 18 demon monarchs. However, he remained valiant, defeating the 18 demon monarchs. Even when the Dark Church's church master made a move, he could not kill him, allowing him to retreat and return to the Kunlun realm. However, he did not receive a welcome in the Kunlun realm. Instead, he was surrounded. He did not get burned to death by the heavenly flame or killed by the demon monarchs. Instead, he died at the hands of his own people in the Kunlun realm. When Xiaochen heard this, he entered deep thought. He felt that there were many points in Yu Bingyun's words that were worth discussing. Chapter 1099. For example, why did the Qing Emperor have a conflict with the Tianwu Emperor's inheritor? Why did the people of the Deep Abyss demonic race appear coincidentally? There were too many suspicious points. However, even if Xiaochen asked her, she probably would not know. All she could see were the records of the various holy lands. Yu Bingyun gave Xiaochen a strange look and said, "You seem rather calm." Xiaochen did not answer Yu Bingyun. Instead, he frowned and said, "You mentioned the Dark Church. How much do you know about this church?" "I don't know much. The founder and elders of this church are very mysterious. This is especially so for the church master. His status is no lower than the demon monarchs. They also created the demonic god. They have branches in the 3,000 lower realms." Indeed, there was not much. Xiaochen did not linger on this question. He asked, "What is the relationship between that old lady and the Qing Emperor?" When Yu Bingyun heard this, she revealed a somewhat sorrowful expression. She said indifferently, "You should have heard that in the history of the Lunar Palace, there was a holy daughter who fell in love with an outsider. That was my master." This was more or less what Yu Bingyun expected. Otherwise, she would not have asked Xiaochen so many seemingly ordinary questions. She was the most talented holy daughter in the history of the Lunar Palace. At the age of 20, she cultivated the longevity art to the 10th layer. Furthermore, she even completed the last 2 incomplete layers, making great contributions to the Lunar Palace. Unfortunately, she fell in love with someone she should not have. Her hair turned white, and she aged. She locked herself in this Meditation Moon Palace for more than 10,000 years and gained nothing. Yu Bingyun continued, "I'm a little curious. What did my master ask you? In order to bring you to Bright Moon City and meet you, she sent you to Bright Moon City. In order to bring you to Bright Moon City and meet you, she ignored the palace master's objections and forcefully changed the most important gift of this 4 seas hero gathering to the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet." Xiaochen felt somewhat sorrowful. After thinking for a while, he honestly told Yu Bingyun the contents of his conversation with the old lady. When Yu Bingyun heard this, she felt very surprised. Unexpectedly, this old lady spent so much effort to bring Xiaochen to Bright Moon City just to ask him some trivial matters. After a long time, she said, "The 10,000 years in the Meditation Moon Palace did not erase her longing. I really want to see for myself how charming the Qing Emperor of 10,000 years ago was. What kind of charm did he have to move the Lunar Palace's holy daughter? Just how strong was he to be able to personally bury an entire golden age?" Honestly speaking, Xiaochen was very curious as well. However, speaking of which, although Master took out the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, it will only benefit others. Yu Bingyun changed the topic, changing the topic to the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. Xiaochen smiled and said, "Master of the sect, master of Shao Clan's emperor." With a smile, Yu Bingyun looked seriously at Xiaochen and said, "Your heavenly seal is not complete yet. That is to say, You are still a small perfection blue-robed emperor. If it's just this, it's still a bit too difficult for you to stand out and dominate the crowd with your elegant demeanor. The most important thing is that you are an outsider. If you do not have an absolute advantage and defeat the various outstanding talents, the Lunar Palace's judges might not give you the top prize. Xiao Chen's expression changed as he exclaimed, "There is such a thing? Isn't the Lunar Palace neutral?" That's right. The Lunar Palace is indeed neutral. It will not get involved in the conflicts between you and the holy science. However, there are not many people in the Lunar Palace who have a good impression of the Qing Emperor. If you cannot create a situation where they have nothing to say and can't argue with you. Yu Bingyun continued unhurriedly, even if your elegance is the most outstanding among all the outstanding talents, you might not be able to obtain the top prize. Xiao Chen did not get angry, just somewhat shocked. After all, the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet was in the hands of the Lunar Palace. The Lunar Palace had not begged him to participate in the Four Seas Hero Gathering. He was the one who wanted to come. On the other hand, Yu Bingyun had said many things to him that she should not have. For example, the last part. As a member of the Lunar Palace, logically speaking, she should not have told him this information. Xiao Chen did not think that he was the Qing Emperor, relying on his charm to subdue this holy daughter. He was not that naive. This Yu Bingyun before him was still unfathomable. He could not figure out her background or what she wanted. "I'm leaving. Thank you for the final reminder. However, I have to obtain the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. 3 days later, you will see a situation that will leave everyone speechless. I will use my own strength to let the Lunar Palace judge and hand the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet to me." Xiao Chen spoke calmly, but the expression on his face was extremely resolute. His gaze was as sharp as a sword, piercing through the sky. Yu Bingyun felt somewhat startled. Unexpectedly, after Xiao Chen obtained her news, he did not feel frustrated or angry at all. His mental state did not show any openings at all. As Yu Bingyun watched Xiao Chen jump off the Meditation Moon Palace and leave, she said softly, "I really look forward to it 3 days later. I want to see whether you are confident or arrogant." 3 days later, Xiao Chen, Qi Wuxue, and Long Fei woke up early and gathered in the courtyard. Qi Wuxue only intended to join in on the excitement of the Four Seas Hero Gathering. Of course, he did not expect to make a name for himself. As for Long Fei, he made ample preparations. He wanted to clash head-on with the holy scions of the immortal Holy Lands and see the distance between him and them. As for Xiao Chen, his target was very clear, the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. He was here for the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. "Don't go yet. I'll pray to the gods first." Qi Wuxue held on to Long Fei and Xiao Chen. Then, he pressed his palms together and bowed to the east. I hope that I, Qi Wuxue, can have a good time today. I hope that Long Fei can make a name for himself and win the attention of many beauties. I hope that old brother Xiao Chen can teach those holy scions a lesson on my behalf." Long Fei smiled helplessly and said, "There is no such thing as a god in this world. The deity race's methods are only used to trick ordinary people to obtain the power of faith." After Qi Wuxue finished bowing, he said mysteriously, "Naturally, in this heavenly starry ocean, we worship the sea god. I heard that the sea god really exists at the end of the ocean. There are many believers in the vast oceanic world. Of course, the believers are just ordinary people. Cultivators rarely believe in such things. I heard that at the end of the ocean." Xiao Chen had already reached the courtyard gates. He turned his head and said, "Let's go. It's time to go to Bright Moon Plaza." Long Fei immediately followed. Qi Wuxue said, "Wait for me. I'm not done yet." Bright Moon Plaza was very crowded, with many entrances. When the three arrived, there were no good spots left. They could only choose a relatively high spot in the periphery. Given their eyesight, they could clearly see the arena in the plaza, which was very far away. That was a vast arena with a formation laid by a sovereign martial emperor below, changing the laws of space. If one went deep into it, they would feel an even vaster space. Even if a peak consummation expert like the blue-robed emperor fought in there, There would be no need to worry about the shockwaves affecting the spectating cultivators. Many exquisite pavilions hovered in the air above the plaza. Those were the VIP pavilions that the Lunar Palace prepared for the various holy lands and large clans. At this moment, the gathering had not officially started yet. More than 1,000 female disciples performed the famous bright moon sword dance of the Lunar Palace. This was much larger than the scene that Long Fei participated in back then. The bright moon rose and fell, the sword images flashed, and the beauties danced. The performance before the opening was not boring at all. Qi Wuxue watched intently, clicking his tongue in praise. He said excitedly, "Later, when the bright moon soars into the sky and the 10,000 swords fly together, the Four Seas Hero Gathering will officially start." Xiao Chen watched interestedly. The bright moon above the arena glowed with a faint light. The 1,000 white-clad women looked like fairies dancing around the bright moon. There were also disciples playing flutes behind them. The one leading them was Fang Qingxian. The flute music spread out, merging with the sword dance. It was hard to tell who was leading and who was following. It was like they were in a dream. It was hard to tell whether they were immersed in the flute music or in the ever-changing bright moon sword dance. The flute music suddenly turned lofty and hot-blooded. That was the sound of killing, the hot-bloodedness hidden in every cultivator's body. Under the sound of the flute, he was completely ignited, burning fiercely. There was a flame burning in his chest. The 1,000 white-clad women formed a circle of swords. They all danced with their swords in different movements as they chanted sonorous and hot-blooded poems. When the flute music reached its climax, it suddenly stopped. A huge bright moon that could compete with the sun soared into the sky from the circle of swords. Many swords flew out of the hands of the white-clad women. Everyone was startled awake in that instant, shocked by the scene before them. Loud rumbling rang out. As the bright moon soared, the vast arena actually soared into the air as well, leaving the ground. After that, the arena split up and formed smaller arenas that hovered in midair. They were like stars surrounding the moon, serving as a contrast to the tallest and largest arena. Xiao Chen counted carefully. Not counting the largest arena, there were a total of 100 smaller arenas of varying heights. They surrounded the tallest arena, hovering in the air. On each of the small arenas, there were 10 white-robed women who did not leave. As for the largest arena, Fang Qingxian led 10 elite female disciples to guard it. Qi Wuxue explained, It's finally starting. The first ones to face in the first stage are those 10 Lunar Palace disciples." Xiao Chen asked, "Does everyone have the qualifications to go up the arena? Is there a need for any additional explanation or declaration?" Long Fei had arrived early and was no stranger to this. He smiled and said, "Just be casual. Although the Four Seas Hero Gathering style is constantly changing, it has always been casual. This is to give everyone a chance to display themselves." Qi Wuxue nodded and smiled interestedly. In every Four Seas Hero Gathering, there are always people who rush up excitedly, wanting to be the first to occupy the arena. In the end, they get blasted off by 10 girls. I wonder who will end up as a joke this year. As the three spoke, the plaza was already in an uproar. Countless people soared into the air, rushing to the arenas in the center with faces filled with excitement. The Lunar Palace experts guarding the arenas attacked at the same time. With one palm strike, they immediately eliminated most of the people. After that, they no longer bothered with them. This was the first time Xiao Chen saw such a scene, so he could not help feeling startled. Aside from the Four Seas Hero Gathering's great influence and fame, there was another important reason for such a grand occasion. Chapter 1100. As long as one entered the arena and defeated an opponent, one would obtain a reward from the Lunar Palace. This was especially so for the first stage. By defeating 10 Lunar Palace female disciples, one would obtain the highest reward. One would have the opportunity to obtain all sorts of rare treasures. In terms of wealth, as the top city of the heavenly starry ocean, Bright Moon City collected taxes from the merchants in the city every year, easily surpassing that of the other holy lands. If it was any other holy land that was hosting such a grand event, they probably wouldn't be as generous as this. The extraordinarily bustling scene lasted for a long time. As the 10 female disciples worked together to knock out the many rash cultivators, the place slowly calmed down. Xiao Chen could clearly see that without the strength of a Grandmaster-level martial sage, it would be very difficult to defeat the 10 female disciples. However, a true expert would not rashly make an appearance in the first stage. This was probably an invisible threshold that the Lunar Palace had set up. I'll go. Both of you wish me luck. Qi Wuxue laughed loudly and soared into the air, flying towards a small arena. After Qi Wuxue made his move, some of the Grandmaster-level martial sage youths could no longer hold themselves back. The true elites of the Four Seas hero gatherings started to make their appearance. Occasionally, one could hear someone being recognized and gaining popularity. Xiao Chen and Long Fei showed no intention of making a move. Clearly, this was just an appetizer. In the air, none of the holy scions in the exquisite jade pavilions showed any intention of making a move. Long Fei smiled and said, "Qi Wuxue is going to succeed." Xiao Chen squinted and looked over. Only one Lunar Palace female disciple remained in the arena where Qi Wuxue was. However, Qi Wuxue did not seem to be in a rush to obtain victory. As they exchanged moves, he occasionally said something to that Lunar Palace female disciple, angering her out of humiliation. Xiao Chen smiled speechlessly and said, "This fellow's nature is really hard to change." Long Fei shook his head as well and said, "His talent is even better than mine. This is truly unfortunate." As the Lunar Palace disciples entered the arena one by one, Qi Wushue's arena became exceptionally eye-catching, enraging several people. When Qi Wuxue saw the situation, he stopped joking and smiled. "Sister, I will not play with you anymore. Go down first. I'll look for you later." After saying that, Qi Wuxue gently threw that Lunar Palace female disciple off the arena. No need to wait any longer. After understanding the rules of the Four Seas Hero Assembly, Xiao Chen stood up and prepared to take the stage. His target was the highest stage, where Fang Qingxian was leading the 10 elite disciples. It was the most difficult and most eye-catching stage. From the beginning until now, no one had visited that arena. Even the most arrogant person would know their place. Many people were looking forward to seeing who the first son of Saint would be, but they also knew that the sons of saints would not appear so early until the time was right. Therefore, most people didn't look at the arena that attracted the most attention. They all knew that this arena was prepared for the chosen. They did not have the qualifications to go up, and they would only be humiliating themselves if they went up. Long Fei immediately said, "It's not good to go on stage too early. If you expose your own strength too much, it will become harder and harder to fight towards the end." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry, Brother Long, I know what I'm doing." If not for what Yu Bingyun said 3 days ago, Xiao Chen might not have been so high-profile and rash. He would have waited for a while. However, now that he wanted to obtain the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, he needed to be high-profile and rash, leaving others speechless. Before Long Fei's flabbergasted gaze, Xiao Chen's figure flashed and spun 3 times in the air. Then he gently landed on the tallest and largest arena in Bright Moon Plaza. Xiao Chen moved too fast. Furthermore, most people did not expect someone to charge to the highest arena so early. As a result, not many people noticed that there was an additional person in the highest arena. The instant Xiao Chen landed, his field of vision immediately widened. The arena was much larger than it looked on the outside. Fang Qingxian held a bamboo flute in her hand. She was somewhat surprised at Xiao Chen's arrival. She smiled softly and said, "Blue Dragon King, you should not have come now." Indeed, Xiao Chen should not have come now. No matter how one looked at it as someone who was competing for the top prize, he should not have appeared so early. For the sake of snatching the limelight, Xiao Chen exposed his strength too early. Xiao Chen did not answer. He looked to the front and observed the strength of the group of people on the other side. Xiao Chen knew Fang Qingxuan's strength. She was still far from the small perfection blue-robed emperor. The 10 elite female disciples at the back had pretty good cultivations, all Grandmaster-level martial sages. From the finer details, one could discover that the accumulations of the lunar palace were much stronger than those of the 9 ranks of the great families, the Haotian sect. At the very least, the Haotian sect definitely did not have so many disciples who were grandmaster-level martial sages. Shao Chun already had an understanding of the strength of this group of people. He performed a cupped fist salute and said calmly, "There is no need to say anything more. Miss Fong, make your move." "Sorry for the offense." Then, Fong Qingxian elegantly twirled the bamboo flute around her finger. Then she moved to the back. The 10 white-clad female disciples held their swords and split into 2 rows. They stood in a row beside Fong Qingxian, raised their swords, and charged at Shao Chun together with the sound of the bamboo flute. The instant the bamboo flute rang out, the 100,000 cultivators in Bright Moon Plaza seemed to wake up from a dream. Only now did they discover that a person had leaped onto the highest arena at some point in time. Countless pairs of eyes looked over in an instant, finding this extremely inconceivable. Why would someone choose to go up at this moment? Was he extremely confident in his strength or simply wanted to show off? Was he not afraid of exposing his strength too early by jumping out now? However, when everyone thought about it, the many holy signs in the pavilion in the air did not move. They immediately felt that this was a cultivator who was about to make a fool of himself. However, when everyone clearly saw the white figure on the arena, they were all shocked. It's the Blue Dragon King, Shao Chun. What is he trying to do? He is too arrogant. Does he really think that there is no one left in our heavenly starry ocean? This is a ruthless slap to the faces of all the outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean. Unexpectedly, the first person to go up on the most eye-catching arena is the Blue Dragon King, an outsider. What's so amazing about that? He is just showing off for a while. He will be the one crying later. Voices of criticism rose and fell, turning the entire place into chaos. Several people could not help standing up from their seats. Even on the other small arenas, many of the people who were originally fighting stopped and turned their gazes over. There was only one question in their minds. Why did none of the outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean think of going up to the highest arena in advance? Shao Chun is an outsider. Why does he have the right to ride on their heads? Does he still think that he is the Blue Dragon King with boundless potential? The many holy scions and outstanding talents in the many pavilions in the air, who were resting with their eyes closed, suddenly opened their eyes at the reminder of their elders. The 5 poison sect's holy scions could not help cursing, "Damn! He is too arrogant." The Sun Palace's Chu Yang narrowed his eyes and radiated a boundless murderous intent. He snorted coldly and said, "Damn! He is too arrogant." The Sun Palace's Chu Yang narrowed his eyes and released a boundless murderous intent. He snorted coldly and said, "He is really not afraid of death." Soft voices rang out in the Yin-Yang Paradise's pavilion. A group of female disciples looked at Shao Chun, who was on the arena. Their eyes were faintly discernible. "Elder Sister Susu, this Blue Dragon King is really putting on airs. This is our heavenly starry ocean's gathering, and he, an outsider, actually managed to get ahead of the many holy scions and stand on the highest arena." Tong Susu revealed a look of pity on her pretty face. She said, "How unfortunate. If he does not advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years, he will only have 20 years left to live. In the end, he is a short-lived fellow. Otherwise, this elder sister would really fall in love with him." Even now, Tong Susu could not forget the scene of Shao Chun forcefully drawing his sword when he faced the many outstanding talents in Despair City. However, in the blink of an eye, Tong Susu's melancholic expression was replaced by a charming one. She smiled seductively and said, "Later, elder sister will make a move and defeat you with my own hands. Don't be too harsh. Those stinky men do not know when to stop." In the Myriad Fiend Islands Jade Pavilion, Yan Shisan, Di Xinhan, and Mu Qingyun all felt that this was incredible. Mu Qingyun said, "Big brother, what do you think he is doing? Right now, your cultivations are no weaker than his. Is he really not afraid of exposing his trump cards?" Di Xinhan, the strongest person of the Myriad Fiend Islands younger generation and one of Chu Yang's 2 greatest rivals, entered deep thought. He could not understand what was going on either, so he looked at Yen Shirsan. Yen Shirsan shrugged his shoulders and smiled helplessly. Don't look at me. I don't know either. Given my understanding of him in the Kunlun continent, he is not the kind of person who likes to stand out. He must have his reasons for doing this. I don't think so. He is probably going to suffer a setback this time. He seems to have underestimated the strength of the many outstanding talents of our heavenly star island. Not to mention the others, just Big Brother's heavenly spiritual body is already at the small perfection blue-robed emperor. Just his physical body alone is unstoppable. Furthermore, Brother Shirsan's massacre sword Dao has already reached the peak. Even the old seniors of my myriad fiend island who use the sword admit that they are not his match. Mu Qingyun, who had nearly been killed by Xiao Chen with one saber strike, analyzed the situation somewhat indignantly. Yen Shirsan and Di Xinhan did not comment. Although they acknowledged Xiao Chen's strength in their hearts, they did not think that there would be a large gap between them and Xiao Chen now that they had reached the blue-robed emperor realm. The Lunar Palace's judges were in the most exquisite palace in the air at all times, paying attention to everything below. They paid attention to everything below. Not a single detail in the bright moon plaza could escape their eyes. Outside the balcony, Yu Bingyun watched as Xiao Chen entered the arena. Then, she shook her head slightly. This was the method Xiao Chen thought of. Did he think that by making an early appearance and showing off, the judges would be speechless? In that case, Yu Bingyun would only be disappointed. This was arrogance. There was no way he could snatch away the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. A murderous chi slowly soared amid the flute music. 10 white-clad women soared into the air on the highest arena, dancing around with their swords in hand. This dazzled everyone, too much for the eye to take in. As the 10 women pressed forward, Xiao Chen squinted his eyes and looked, but he could not find any openings. Chapter 1101. The murderous sword dance before him was made up of elite disciples. Its overall might was more than double that of the one he faced on the Jade Bridge, making it even harder to deal with. Under the guidance of the murderous sound, the bright moon sword dance, an ancient inheritance of the Lunar Palace, lived up to its reputation after tens of thousands of years of modification. The combination of 10 Grandmaster-level martial sages and 1 Fang Qingxuan's flute did not simply merge the strength of these people together. Instead, it multiplied the strength of these people. As long as one fell into it, any of the holy scions would have to fight a bitter battle. Several of the outstanding talents did not want to go down early because they were not confident of breaking this murderous sword dance in a short time. Even if they won, they would have to put in a lot of effort. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen snatched away the limelight. Now, they could not help but call him an egomaniac in their hearts. Many people smiled coldly. They wanted to see how the arrogant Xiao Chen would fall into this murderous sword dance and lose the chance to obtain the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet for the sake of showing off. Would Xiao Chen waste a lot of time in this murderous sword dance and expose his trump cards? Clearly not. Since Xiao Chen could not find an opening, he would force one out. Just as the spiraling murderous sword dance was about to envelop Xiao Chen smiled faintly and let out a loud roar. The magic energy in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness burned as he executed the dragon tone art at full power. The dragon roar that erupted out instantly tore through the sky, 10,000 times more horrifying than the thunder of the 9 heavens. A beam of light pierced through the shattered clouds and landed on Xiao Chen's body, illuminating the white-robed Blue Dragon King with a dazzling golden light. Following that, the clouds for 5,000 kilometers around scattered like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. The light from Xiao Chen's body spread throughout the world. In an instant, it was like the entire world had become several times brighter because of Xiao Chen, giving everyone a piercing sunlight. This was because he, the Blue Dragon King, roared and tore through the sky, shaking the surroundings and shattering the clouds for 5,000 kilometers around. The bright moon swordsmanship did not have any flaws, but as long as one grasped it well, one could easily create an opening. That flaw was naturally in Fang Qingxuan's flute music that was filled with murderous intent. The dragon tone art was mainly used to deal with the deity race's mental energy martial techniques. However, martial techniques were dead, while people were alive. As long as it could disrupt the opponent's rhythm, any martial technique could be used. This was the principle of learning and applying flexibly. The instant the clouds for 5,000 kilometers around shattered and the sunlight shone on the ground, Shao Chen moved. He charged forward in a straight line, knocking the white-clad disciples in front of him into the air like sandbags. The rhythm of the bright moon sword dance had already been broken. Before Shao Chen, these Lunar Palace disciples were just ordinary Grandmaster-level martial sages. Naturally, they could not block Shao Chen. In an instant, Shao Chen arrived before Fang Qingxian. As she was the one blowing the flute, Shao Chen's dragon tone art focused on Fang Qingxian. At this moment, Fang Qingxuan's complexion was pale, and blood leaked out of a corner of her lips. She had just grasped her sword when Shao Chen struck her wrist with a palm strike, causing her sword to fall to the ground. Shao Chen did not stop moving. He pressed forward and sent out another palm strike. Just as his palm strike was about to land, he thought of something and held back in time. When his palm strike landed on Fang Qingxuan's right shoulder, he sent out a force that knocked her back but did not injure her at all. With one dragon roar and one exchange, Shao Chen easily broke the famous bright moon sword dance. The situation of Shao Chen getting tangled up in several people's expectations did not happen. Instead, Shao Chen quickly broke the bright moon sword dance, with a lightning-fast momentum. Like a whirlwind, Shao Chen did not drag things out, clean and efficient. Shao Chen's white robes fluttered as he stood on the most eye-catching arena. If not for the clouds slowly gathering for 5,000 kilometers in the sky, many people would have suspected that everything they saw was just an illusion. Everything they saw was just an illusion. Thank you for letting me win. Shao Chen said with a cupped fist salute as he turned around and faced the white-clad disciple still on the arena. The Lunar Palace disciple bowed gracefully and returned the greeting before drifting away. She was like a fairy dancing in the air, a delightful sight to behold. The various holy scions in the many jade pavilions in the air were all shocked. They had not expected Shao Chen to break the bright moon sword dance so easily. All of them remained silent as if they could not accept this reality. In the jade pavilion where the Zodiac Hall was, Chu Yang stood up with a sullen expression, preparing to charge down. However, Fu Hongyao and the group of elders quickly stopped him. Holy Scion, there is no need to rush. This is just the beginning. He will not be able to maintain his might for long, an old man with a goatee in the Zodiac Hall advised. Fu Hongyao said softly, Senior brother, there is indeed no need to rush. There are many experts in the 100 small arenas below. Several of the outstanding talents from the previous 4 Seas Hero Gathering are there. Those people are all in their 40s, and their cultivations are not low. We will definitely be able to force him to draw his saber. At that time, we will know his limits with one look. Chu Yang's expression changed. He slowly sat down and said, I'll let him be cocky for a while first. When he jumps high enough, I'll trample on him. In the Jade Pavilion where the 5 Poison Sect was, the Holy Scion of the 5 Poison Sect showed an uncertain expression. Soon, he made a decision to watch for a while longer. In the Myriad Fiend Island group, Yen Shursan was somewhat stunned. He said, I forgot that he knows the dragon tone art. Let's wait a little longer. We will be able to see his true strength after he draws his saber. Bang! The white-clad girl had just left the arena when someone flew over impatiently. This person held a heavy staff and arrived before Shao Chen. It's Wang Meng. In the previous 4 Seas Hero Gathering, he ranked 4th. Now that 20 years have passed, his cultivation has already reached the level of the blue-robed emperor. He will definitely be able to hold his own against Shao Chen. The moment this person appeared, he immediately caused a huge commotion. Many people recognized him. Shao Chen squinted and looked over. This person's cultivation was indeed deep, not much weaker than that of some of the holy scions. His only regret was that he was rather old, and his potential had already been mostly dug out. Without any fortuitous encounters, it would be very difficult for him to advance to martial emperor in this lifetime. Wang Meng's staff struck the arena heavily, and countless cracks immediately appeared in the ground. As the wind blew, Wang Meng's aura gathered continuously. Wang Meng held his staff with one hand and spun it around. The strong wind howled even more intensely. This simple action pushed his aura to the peak. Even the air turned solid under the pressure of his aura, pressing down on Xiao Chen like a mountain. Wang Meng, I have long heard of the name of the Blue Dragon King. Today I came to fight you. Sorry for the offense. Right after Wang Meng spoke, he shouted ferociously and soared into the air. Then he swung his staff at Xiao Chen. Wang Meng's body was like a mountain. The moment he stood up, the force of his feet pushed off the ground. The arena could not withstand it, and it shook intensely. When the staff pressed down, a mysterious phenomenon appeared. 3 huge mountains gathered in the sky. The mountains were so vast that it flabbergasted everyone. Indistinct cracks appeared in the air. It was easy to imagine how strong this staff strike was. Just when everyone thought that Xiao Chen would have to take out his saber to deal with this strong, profound martial technique, Xiao Chen took out a staff as well. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen also took out a staff. The staff in Xiao Chen's hands spun like the wind. A strong wind howled, and an aura that could topple mountains and flip seas poured out. The sky instantly turned dark, and thunderclouds filled the sky. It was like the end of the world. Bolts of lightning tore through the sky. Just as the staff in Wang Meng's hand was about to press down, Xiao Chen's staff suddenly stopped spinning. The strong wind carried tens of thousands of bolts of lightning behind Xiao Chen. It was like he was pulling tens of thousands of ancient ferocious beasts running in the air. It was a boundless and shocking scene. Xiao Chen did not move. He gently pushed the staff in his hand at Wang Meng. The power of wind and lightning burst forth in an instant. He was like a king leading an army of 10,000. Dressed in white, he stood in the middle of the blood-soaked battlefield. His elegance was outstanding. No one could compare to him. When Xiao Chen stabbed with his staff, the 3 mountains pressing down crumbled in an instant. Wang Meng, who had charged over with a ferocious aura, vomited a mouthful of blood in midair and staggered to the ground. Whoosh! Xiao Chen held his staff like a spear and leaped into the air. The instant Wang Meng landed, he pressed forward. Wang Meng retreated again and again. The tip of the staff was always only an inch away from his throat. That intimidating aura forced him to retreat in a fluster. Wang Meng kept retreating until he reached the edge of the arena. He nearly fell off. Xiao Chen's footsteps sank, and he quickly withdrew his staff. Wang Meng's heart thumped heavily. He thought to himself, that was close. If I really fell off, I would have lost a lot of face. Thank you for letting me win. Xiao Chen cupped his hands in greeting. He did not show any arrogance from defeating his opponent, nor did he show any hypocrisy. He was as calm as the autumn water, polite and restrained. Wang Meng felt his face burn. He did not say anything and turned around to leave. He was truly speechless. Before Wang Meng ascended the arena, his thoughts were very simple. He just wanted to trample on this outdated Blue Dragon King and gain a good reputation in the 4 Seas hero gathering. If Wang Meng had really done that, he would have been mentioned as the outstanding talent of the Northern Sea who dealt the final blow to the Blue Dragon King. However, the outcome was rather cruel. Wang Meng could not even receive one move from Xiao Chen. If not for Xiao Chen pulling back in time, Wang Meng would have lost in an even more unsightly manner. Not only could Wang Meng not accept such an outcome, but the many cultivators of the heavenly starry ocean also could not accept it. How could an outstanding talent of the heavenly starry ocean, a veteran, be unable to receive even one move from this outsider? Furthermore, he lost to the staff technique that he was most proficient in? The entire place fell silent. Hundreds of thousands of people did not say anything, like they were all mute. They were all planning to see how the arrogant Xiao Chen would be trampled on. However, reality ruthlessly slapped them in the face. How could they accept this? How could they accept this? It seemed like such a scene had never happened in the past 10,000 years in the extraordinarily bustling 4 Seas hero gathering. Hundreds of thousands of people fell silent, the place quiet. After a while, another 3 outstanding talents stepped up. However, they all lost to Xiao Chen, all in one move. Xiao Qin used whatever weapon his opponent used. With the simulation of the changing character formula, Xiao Qin was no weaker than his opponent in every weapon. The Four Seas hero gathering continued in silence. There was no commotion or shouting. No one spoke, there was nothing to say. Chapter 1102. When the Lunar Palace's judges saw this scene, they did not know what to say. Could it be that Xiao Qin could not even get the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Qin, to draw his saber? All the heavenly starry ocean cultivators felt a clump of fire in their hearts, feeling extremely sullen. With Xiao Qin's actions, the hundreds of thousands of heavenly starry ocean cultivators felt humiliated. They raged, but they could not do anything about it. Out of these hundreds of thousands of people, no one dared to say anything. How sorrowful was this? Up in the arena, the first-ranked outstanding talent of the previous Four Seas hero gathering lost in one move to Xiao Qin's spear techniques. Once again, Xiao Qin lost to the weapon he was most proficient in. Finally, someone could no longer hold back his emotions. He shouted angrily, "You so-called holy scions, how long are you going to be cowards?" His voice reverberated in the vast and quiet Bright Moon Plaza, echoing in all directions, sounding sorrowful. After a moment of silence, the rage and sullenness in everyone's hearts erupted. Hundreds of thousands of people stood up at the same time and looked at the exquisite jade pavilions in the air. They could not help shouting loudly, "Inherited holy lands, immortal for 10,000 years. If not now, when? Inherited holy lands, immortal for 10,000 years. If not now, when?" The deafening shouts resounded in the surroundings, reverberating in the air. Hundreds of thousands of people shouted at the same time. A scene that had never happened before in the Four Seas hero gathering happened. The holy scions of the Heavenly Province Academy, the Five Poison Sect, the Divine Dragon Palaces of the Four Seas, the Zodiac Hall, and the Yin-Yang Paradise all showed extremely unsightly expressions in the many exquisite jade pavilions. This was especially so for the words, "Inherited holy lands, immortal for 10,000 years. They felt their faces burn. Now, an outsider, the Blue Dragon King who was past his prime in their eyes, actually forced the hundreds of thousands of cultivators in Bright Moon Plaza to turn against them. As Xiao Qin stood in the arena, he entered deep thought. He had not expected such a situation either. However, this was fine as well. Since he wanted everyone to be speechless, then he would keep a high profile until the end. He did not mind adding fuel to the fire. Xiao Qin said in a clear voice, "The Holy Land of Inheritance is immortal for tens of thousands of years. Today, this untalented Xiao has come for the last Dragon's Gate Mountain tablet. Holy sons, do you dare to come down and fight?" His voice was not loud, but it clearly spread to every corner, suppressing the cheers of hundreds of thousands of people. In the entire Bright Moon Square, everyone went silent at the same time, leaving only Xiao Qin's clear voice, spreading in all directions, echoing leisurely. He was stunned by Xiao Qin's words. Facing so many saints, he actually wanted to challenge all of them alone. Wasn't he a little too arrogant? Xiao Qin's blunt mockery caused all the saint princes to be unable to sit still any longer. Anyone with the slightest bit of courage would be unable to bear it at this moment, let alone these proud and arrogant outstanding talents. Damn it! Do you really think that my heavenly starry ocean has no one capable? I, young Master Qingshu, will fight with you. In the Heavenly Province Academy's Jade Pavilion, young Master Qingshu drifted down and looked coldly at Xiao Qin. Young Master Qingshu smiled coldly and said, "Blue Dragon King, you are indeed arrogant enough. Do you dare to be even more arrogant? When you bullied some of the veteran outstanding talents, you did not use your saber. Do you dare to continue not using your saber when fighting me?" After seeing Xiao Qin's strength, young Master Qingshu knew that he was no match for Xiao Qin. After thinking for a while, he thought of a way to infuriate Xiao Qin with words. Everyone looked at Xiao Qin, waiting to see how he would answer. If Xiao Qin did not agree, young Master Qingshu would be in the right. Then, Xiao Qin would become someone who only dared to bully the veteran outstanding talents. "As you wish." Xiao Chen's expression remained calm. With a flip of his hand, a white folding fan appeared in his palm. In the palace where the Lunar Palace's judges were, Yu Bingyun appeared somewhat distracted. Is this what Xiao Chen meant by making people speechless? The heroes of the world bustled with activity, coming and going endlessly. Countless outstanding talents emerged from the four seas. However, the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen, used only one move, the weapon that the Blue Dragon King excelled at, and defeated them in one move. Such elegance! If one could last until the end, one would indeed be speechless, unable to hesitate. Even the Lunar Palace's judges, who wanted to make things difficult for Xiao Chen and prevent him from taking away the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, could not do anything or say anything. However, could one really do it? Earlier, when facing the various veteran outstanding talents, Xiao Chen could defeat them in one move. Now that he faced so many holy scions, he still dared to challenge them alone. This was truly arrogant. The cultivators in Bright Moon Plaza were also astonished. Unexpectedly, when facing the holy scions of an immortal holy land, Xiao Chen still dared to not draw his saber, using the weapon that the other party excelled at. Even if Xiao Chen did not say it, he had to admit his elegance in his heart. At the very least, no one in the younger generation would dare to do what Xiao Chen did. Even if the Four Seas Hero Gathering was set back 10,000 years ago, no one had dared to do this. No one had ever done this before or after. Young Master Qingshu smiled and said, "You are really boundlessly arrogant. To think that you dare to play with a fan before me, young Master Qingshu. In that case, let's decide victory in one move. Do you accept or not?" In his previous fight with Xiao Chen, young Master Qingshu had been frightened by Xiao Chen's unpredictable fists, claws, and fists, so he did not dare to drag things out. As long as Xiao Chen agreed to decide victory in one move and the other party could not use his saber, he would definitely defeat Xiao Chen in an extremely unsightly manner. Before Xiao Chen said anything, Qi Wuxue, who was in the small arena below, mocked, "You are a bona fide holy scion, yet you have so many requests when fighting with someone. Do you really think that this is child's play? Why don't you just say that Xiao Chen is just standing there and not moving and letting you decide?" The moment Qi Wuxue said this, no one retorted. Young Master Qingshu's actions were indeed somewhat shameless. Those who wanted to speak up for him were too embarrassed to do so. Young Master Qingshu's expression did not change. However, he smiled coldly in his heart. The winner is king, and the loser is a bandit. As long as he defeated Xiao Chen, all the criticism would vanish like smoke. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Deciding victory in one move? That suits my intentions. Make your move." When young Master Qingshu saw Xiao Chen agree, he rejoiced in his heart. He laughed loudly and said, "The Blue Dragon King truly lives up to his reputation as the Blue Dragon King. Such boldness is indeed admirable. However, there is no medicine for regret in this world. I, young Master Qingshu, will end your short-lived legend. Today, I will show you that not just anyone can play with a fan." Young Master Qingshu pushed off with his feet and turned into an azure light, charging at Xiao Chen. Everywhere young Master Qingshu passed, the ground soared up. Many green bamboos stuck firmly into the ground, growing straight. Soon, the entire arena was covered in green bamboos, countless in number. Strong and surging wood-attributed spiritual energy floated in the air, looking thick and viscous. Combined with the righteous qi that young Master Qingshu cultivated, his aura soared infinitely, reaching an incredible level. It was nearly equal to the great perfection blue-robed emperors. By Yunfei on the Nine Peaks Mountain, the holy sun rides the wind and descends to the green hills. Young Master Qingshu recited a clear poem. He was a scholar of the Confucian sect, filled with righteous qi. The moment he recited the poem, young Master Qingshu's aura completely changed. He seemed to be in harmony with the noble and unquestionable integrity of the green bamboos. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. This was rather unique. Young Master Qingshu used a poem to temporarily change his aura, allowing his aura to completely merge with the mysterious phenomenon of the martial technique, allowing the might of this move to reach a perfect state. However, no matter what, the aura that young Master Qingshu put on was just that. There was no true feeling. Everything was just a facade. If young Master Qingshu were as noble and unquestionable integrity as the green bamboos, it would be hard to say who would win if Xiaochen fought with his folding fan. As for now, Xiaochen would watch young Master Qingshu put on a good show before dealing a fatal blow. Amid the green bamboos, Xiaochen showed a calm expression as he gently fanned himself with the folding fan in his hand. In life, it is important to have a plan in one's heart to endure difficult trials. It is most important to be humble, to preserve one's strength, to experience wind and rain for a long time, not knowing the cold. The vast poem resounded everywhere and spread out. Every cultivator in Bright Moon Plaza could clearly feel a vast and righteous aura. Young Master Qingshu's body flickered continuously in the air. Every time he flickered, there would be a poem. In the air, young Master Qingshu used his folding fan as a brush. He wrote these poems in the air, forming an inextinguishable righteous will. The green bamboos on the ground merged with the poem in the air. The entire arena seemed to turn into an ink painting filled with charm. Young Master Qingshu, the one holding the brush, had an ethereal figure, completely merging with the world. It was hard to tell where he would appear next. Everyone could only watch as young Master Qingshu used the poem as a painting in the air, slowly making his martial technique stronger and more perfect. There are 2 or 3 peach blossoms outside the bamboo. Who knows when the spring water is warm? Outside the green bamboo, peach blossoms fell one after another, adding a touch of color to this simple and elegant ink painting. All the spectators were shocked. Although young Master Qingshu's methods were somewhat despicable, his martial technique was indeed shocking. It was nearly invulnerable. However, no one could surpass young Master Qingshu in terms of the folding fan. No wonder he was so confident. Before the fight even started, he had already determined that Xiaochen would lose. Another red sun rises. My heart is still the same as the heavens. A dazzling morning sun soared out from young Master Qingshu's chest, raising his aura to the peak of great perfection Emperor Wu's. It was sufficient to crush someone to death with its aura. Then, this red sun pressed down on Xiaochen. Looking from all directions, the most eye-catching arena looked like a painting filled with green bamboos and poems, decorating this peach blossom river. As for Xiaochen, he was trapped in the painting like a trapped beast. Many people felt very happy in their hearts. This was the result of being arrogant. Who asked you to be arrogant? Now, even if you wanted to cry, you could not. Inherited Holy Land, immortal for 10,000 years. The Holy Sun appears, and the blue dragon is defeated. Perhaps because the crowd had been stifled for too long, when they saw that young Master Qingshu held such a great advantage, someone took the lead and shouted. Immediately, the crowd followed suit, and young Master Qingshu's fame shook the sky. In the small arena below, Qi Wuxue cursed, "This group of people is too shameless. Xiaochen is also too much. Why did he agree to it? He should have just beaten him up." The 10 judges of the Lunar Palace exchanged glances and came to an answer. Yu Bingyun understood in her heart that if Xiaochen lost this match, no matter how graceful he was earlier, the judges would not give him the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. A bright moon shines in the sky, a bridge breaks the water, and snow fills the sky. Who knows that my heart is like the moon? Whoever laughs is the person in the painting. Chapter 1103. Just as everyone saw the arena turn into a painting and young Master Qingshu firmly trapping Xiaochen in the painting, Xiaochen muttered a cold, desolate, and proud poem. The martial technique hidden in the fan silently unfolded. A small bridge, a flowing river, and a bright moon appeared one after another, complemented by the 1,000 frost battle snow. Snow filled the sky, cutting off the flowing river and making the moon appear even colder. Everyone suddenly realized that the painting on the arena suddenly had many more sceneries, causing the originally simple and elegant painting to become colorful and colorful, competing with each other in beauty. However, something even more horrifying happened. The instant Xiaochen, who was clearly trapped in the painting, finished reciting the poem, he leaped out of the painting and became someone outside. Young Master Qing Shu immediately leaped out of the painting, becoming someone outside the painting. As for young Master Qing Shu, who used the world as the ink and the fan as the brush to paint, he became someone inside the painting, trapped within it. What's going on? What's going on? The crowd, who had been shouting about the inheritance of the Holy Land and the immortal for 10,000 years, stopped. Shock filled their hearts, and incredulity filled their faces. They could not understand what was happening. Why was it that one moment earlier, Xiaochen was still the person in the painting? In the next moment, Xiaochen became outside the painting, trapping young Master Qing Shu instead? How could the crowd, who had been shouting about the appearance of the Holy Sun and the defeat of the Blue Dragon, endure this? When the many older generation Confucian sect experts in the Heavenly Province Academy's Jade Pavilion saw this scene, their eyes filled with disbelief. Others might not understand, but as peak experts of the Confucian sect, how could they not understand? The martial technique that young Master Qing Shu practiced was one of the Academy's 10 great profound martial techniques, picturesque landscape. It had a total of 4 layers. They were raising the brush to paint, one with the painting, breaking out of the painting, and the most profound painting outside the painting. Young Master Qing Shu was an outstanding talent that only appeared once every few hundred years in the Heavenly Province Academy. He learned this martial technique at a young age and reached the level of raising the brush to paint, using the world as his ink and the fan as his brush. Young Master Qing Shu even used a trick to enter the second layer of one with the painting, raising the might of picturesque landscape to another level. However, who knew? Xiaochen immediately saw through young Master Qing Shu's trick. Xiaochen's aura was not like Qing Zhu's, creating a major flaw in the painting. As for Xiaochen, he was like a god. With just one look, he comprehended the essence of this move. He used a poem that was similar to his own character. Whoever was laughing in the painting could laugh at who. It was clear who was superior. This person definitely knows some kind of cultivation technique that can imitate other people's martial techniques. Otherwise, even if he could see the essence of this move, he would not be able to jump out of the painting and trap Qing Shu. Otherwise, he would not be able to do so. Another person added, "That can't be wrong. Otherwise, it would be hard to explain why a bladesman like him knows so many weapons. Furthermore, he seems to have learned them well. How high must one's perception be to dare to cultivate this kind of cultivation method?" An old man sighed softly. Indeed, even if such a cultivation technique was placed before these consummation blue-robed emperors, they would not dare to cultivate it. There was no other reason. Without sufficient comprehension ability, not only would they not be able to increase their strength, but they would even lose themselves in it, finding it hard to advance. Their strength might even regress. Up in the palace, Yu Bingyun muttered to herself, "Who knows that my heart is like the moon? The moon is a lone flower admiring itself, no one able to understand it. It has been alone for thousands of years, a cold, proud, and lonely existence. What kind of person could come up with such a poem, comparing himself to the bright moon? What kind of person could use such a thought to trap the confident young Master Qing Shu in the painting?" In the arena, young Master Qing Shu appeared confused. He did not know what happened. Xiaochen, whom he suppressed in front, suddenly moved. It was like there was a barrier that he could never cross. Young Master Qing Shu could only fly forward, getting further and further away from Xiaochen. Young Master Qing Shu clearly brought out the full might of this picturesque landscape. However, he could only watch helplessly as Xiaochen moved further away from him, unable to do anything. Xiaochen remained silent. Then, he folded the folding fan in his hand and gently tapped the painting in front of him on young Master Qing Shu's chest. In young Master Qing Shu's opinion, Xiaochen, who was at the ends of the world, closed the distance with one hand, catching him off guard and forcing him to suffer this heavy blow. To others, it looked like Xiaochen was just standing outside the painting, gently tapping it with his brush. Bang! Young Master Qing Shu vomited a mouthful of blood. His internal organs ruptured as he suffered a backlash from his cultivation technique. The mysterious phenomena scattered, and the painting shattered. Young Master Qing Shu tumbled out of the arena. When he landed, he kicked up a large cloud of dust and rumbled endlessly. This startled young Master Qingshu awake. When he saw the white-robed Xiao Qin in the highest arena, his eyes widened. Then he pointed at Xiao Qin, his eyes filled with horror. "You actually trapped me in the painting. How can it be? Pu Si I." Young Master Qingshu vomited another mouthful of blood. He could not accept this blow, so he fainted from frustration. When everyone thought about what young Master Qingshu said earlier, they felt like his words were still ringing in their ears. However, despite all his scheming and shamelessness, he still could not end Xiao Chen's legend. Instead, he buried his reputation here. "If you want me to not draw my saber, I will not draw my saber. If you want to decide victory or defeat with one move, I will do as you wish. No matter how many schemes you have, I only need one move to defeat you." A strange silence reappeared in Bright Moon Plaza. A scene that made hundreds of thousands of people fall silent once again appeared in the Four Seas Hero Gathering. The savior in many people's hearts still could not make Xiao Chen draw his saber. Xiao Chen still lost to the weapon he was most proficient with. Furthermore, it was just one move. Now, the scions of the various immortal holy lands and some of the hidden noble clans were no longer hot-blooded. Even if another 1 million people called themselves the immortal holy lands, they would not go up. They needed to wait until Xiao Chen showed some signs of weakness before they could go up. Otherwise, not only would they fail to trample on him, they would also lose their reputation. The quiet Bright Moon Plaza paused for a moment. The many outstanding talents in the other small arenas had long since lost interest. One person had snatched away all the spotlight. Even though they were fighting brilliantly, no one paid attention to it. However, they did not have the courage to go up to the most eye-catching arena. Even the holy scions were defeated in one move. How could they dare to go up? In the Yin-Yang Paradise's Jade Pavilion, a female disciple smiled and said, "First senior sister, these men do not dare to go up anymore. You should go up and raise the prestige of our Yin-Yang Paradise." That's right. That's right. Elder sister said it before. In order to prevent those stinky men from injuring the Blue Dragon King, we have to defeat them gently with our own hands. Tong Susu rolled her eyes at the two girls and scolded them with a smile. Elder sister has never been beaten by a man before. If I really get defeated in one move, even if I do not advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years and have only 20 years left to live, Elder sister's heart will not be able to leave that person. In the Zodiac Hall, Chu Yang and Fu Hongyao remained silent, showing complicated expressions. Chu Yang had tossed away his earlier ambitions long ago. He wished that he could immediately go up and beat up Xiao Chen. However, his rationality told him that this was not the time to make an appearance. It was not worth it to lose his reputation at the hands of someone who did not have much lifespan left. The Lunar Palace's judges all had expressions of having everything under control. Now, they also showed expressions of not knowing what to do. To think that one person could force the Four Seas Hero Gathering to stop. This was a big joke. In the Myriad Fiend Island's Jade Pavilion, Yen Shisan stood up and prepared to go up. However, Di Xinhan stretched out his hand and stopped him. Di Xinhan said, "Brother Shisan, let me go. After all, this is the Four Seas Hero Gathering of my heavenly starry ocean." Yen Shisan turned his head and said, "Think carefully. You are just seeking defeat. If I go up, I can make him draw his saber. That will definitely increase your chances of victory. I left the Yen clan long ago and do not care about my reputation. However, you are different. You still have the Myriad Fiend Island, an immortal holy land, behind you." Di Xinhan smiled and said, "Victory and defeat are common in battles. It seems that since I made my debut, I have never lost to a person of the same generation in the heavenly starry ocean. So what if I lose once?" Towards the end, Di Xinhan added sullenly, "Furthermore, this is the Four Seas Hero Gathering of my heavenly starry ocean. Someone has to step up. If everyone remains silent and watches, hoping to be the fisherman, then our generation will be finished." Yen Shisan thought for a while and did not insist. He took a step back and said, "Take care." While everyone remained silent, the myriad fiend islands, Di Shinhan silently landed on the most eye-catching arena. Di Shinhan. Di Shinhan's appearance immediately lit up the eyes of several people, a flame of hope igniting in them. Di Shinhan was born with the heavenly spiritual body, a special physique. He was the top genius of the myriad fiend island. Since he made his debut, he had never lost to anyone of the same generation. The reason was none other than his strong heavenly spiritual body. At the crucial moment, even if he could not defeat his opponent, he could still end the fight in a draw. In terms of physical strength, he was publicly recognized as the strongest person of the same generation in the heavenly starry ocean. No one could compare to him. Furthermore, his cultivation, combat techniques, and comprehension ability were not bad. No matter where he went, he would always be the center of attention. He would always be one of the few people at the top of the pyramid of the younger generation. His status had never wavered. While the many holy scions watched from the sidelines, not daring to make a move, Di Shinhan dared to step forward. He was indeed a true man. However, the people present did not say anything. They only silently praised Di Shinhan in their hearts. Blue Dragon King, I have long heard of your great name. I wanted to fight you in Despair City. Unfortunately, at that time, my cultivation was one cultivation realm lower than yours, so I did not dare to challenge you. Today, please give me some pointers. Di Shinhan performed a cupped fist salute and looked calmly at Xiao Qin. He did not show the sophistry of young Master Qingshu or the anger of those veteran outstanding talents. Xiao Qin returned the cupped fist salute. He had seen the other party in Despair City. In Xiao Qin's opinion, if Di Shinhan had challenged him at that time, he would have had a 30% chance of winning. Now that Di Shinhan challenged him, he would not even have a 30% chance. On the surface, it looked like the two were of the same cultivation, both small perfection blue-robed emperor. However, in reality, the difference was rather large. Xiao Qin was a peak small perfection blue-robed emperor. Furthermore, the foundation of advancing to blue-robed emperor was breaking through and establishing 10,000 heavenly sage laws. In this aspect, Di Shinhan was not as good as Xiao Qin. More importantly, in the half a year of seeking dragons and fixing veins, he had fought with all sorts of ferocious beasts, gaining a deep comprehension of the changing character formula. Chapter 1104. In that dark and cold seabed, Xiao Qin's mental state had been tempered to a horrifying level, much stronger than that of several older generation cultivators. Xiao Qin collected his thoughts and said calmly, "This Xiao has heard of your name for a long time already." The heavenly spiritual body was a peak physique even during the ancient era. As one's cultivation increased, their combat prowess would increase by leaps and bounds. Now that you have reached the blue-robed emperor realm, I believe that Brother Di's heavenly spiritual body has improved by another level. Di Shinhan revealed a proud expression. He did not comment on Xiao Qin's words. He said, "Not to mention anything else, just in terms of physical body, I believe that no one in the same generation can compare to me, including Brother Xiao. But I don't like to play tricks, to compare my strengths with other people's weaknesses, and to be pleased with myself after winning." Clearly, Di Shinhan's words had a deeper meaning. He was referring to young Master Qingshu. He disdained playing such tricks. "Today, when I fought with Brother Xiao, I knew that I could not defeat you, so I did not ask for too much. As long as I can force Brother Xiao to draw his saber, it will be worth it." Di Shinhan appeared very magnanimous, not arrogant at all. In the earlier battles, Xiao Qin had already used his actions to prove his strength. There was no need to admit that he was not as good as the other party. Xiao Qin liked Di Shinhan's lofty sentiments. Among the many holy scions, Di Shinhan was indeed a true man. Actually, in the Kunlun continent, before the king conferral ceremony, I relied on the advantage of my physical body to make a name for myself among the same generation. Today, when I see Brother Di, I do not wish for anything else but to experience the might of the heavenly spiritual body. Di Shinhan immediately understood. "You want to fight me purely with the physical body?" Xiao Qin nodded and said, "That's right. Just the physical body, nothing else." After saying that, Shao Chen did not hesitate. He circulated the blue dragon body nourishing art, and a complete battle armor formed from pure blue dragon energy covered Shao Chen's entire body. The battle armor was engraved with blue dragon patterns. It flickered with light and gave off a heroic aura. Di Xinhan originally thought that Shao Chen was joking. He was very clear on how horrifying his heavenly spiritual body was. However, when he saw the azure-colored battle armor slowly appear on Shao Chen's body, his expression slowly turned grave. When the battle armor took shape, Shao Chen's expression no longer showed any signs of relaxation. He smiled bitterly and said, "I take back what I said earlier. However, I am confident that I still have a 50% chance of winning if we compete in physical strength." Shao Chen said with a smile, "To be honest, I'm sure I can defeat Brother D in one move if we compare moves. However, among my peers, I've never competed purely in terms of physical body. There's no other reason but because there's really no one who can match me. I believe you can understand my feelings, Brother D." Di Xinhan could not help laughing loudly. He had truly found a confidant. Among those of the same generation, Di Xinhan had never competed in physical strength with anyone. Similarly, he could not find an opponent in the heavenly starry ocean. "Very well. Today, this D will compete with Brother Shao. Let's see whether your blue dragon war body or my heavenly spiritual body is stronger." Right after Di Xinhan spoke, he drove the heavenly spiritual body. A set of sky blue battle armor appeared on his body as well. This battle armor was formed purely from heavenly spiritual energy. It looked solid and thick. Shao Chen wanted to compete in physical strength with Di Xinhan. Now, the crowd, which had been calm for a long time, could not help turning restless. Di Xinhan's physical body was famous in the heavenly starry ocean. No one doubted that he was the strongest within the same generation. Shao Chen really picked whichever bone was the hardest. In an instant, victory became hard to predict. This piqued the interest of countless people. Although many people did not say anything, their impression of Shao Chen had already changed significantly. Although Shao Chen's words were somewhat unconvincing, his tone did not contain any arrogance. Instead, his words were solid and filled with strength. Every time he won, he defeated his opponent with a great advantage. However, in all these battles, no one had ever seen Shao Chen become arrogant after a victory. On the contrary, the many outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean, who came out with surging auras, ended up making fools of themselves. Honestly speaking, it was hard for anyone to be unconvinced of such an expert. This was especially so now. Shao Chen's conversation with Di Xinhan was very polite and restrained. Everyone could see the side of Shao Chen that craved a challenge. Even a consummation quasi-emperor would not dare to say such a thing when competing with the heavenly spiritual body with the physical body. However, Shao Chen did this, rising to the challenge and facing it head-on. "Brother Shao, are you ready?" Di Xinhan asked. Di Xinhan's heavenly spiritual body was a special physique that he was born with. Shao Chen's blue dragon war body was acquired. Right now, there was not much difference between the two. However, when it came to the convenience of moving vital qi, the acquired Shao Chen would be slower than Di Xinhan, no matter what. Hence, Di Xinhan's question was to let Shao Chen have a fair fight. After a while, the blue dragon body nourishing art circulated through his meridians. Then Shao Chen nodded and said, "That's enough." The two bowed to each other again and moved back 1 kilometer. The instant they landed, all their auras burst forth. Azure-colored heaven dragons came out of Shao Chen's body. This was a mysterious phenomenon formed by pure vital qi. The huge heaven dragon swam behind Shao Chen. 10 dragons danced around, stirring up winds and clouds. Lightning flashed and thunder roared endlessly, causing the sky to change color. Di Xinhan's aura was no weaker than Shao Chen's. 10 faint blue heaven dragons swam around his body. Strong winds suddenly formed in the surroundings. The winds howled back and forth in the sky, creating several horrifying bolts of lightning. The two showed stern expressions as they shouted a war cry. Then, they quickly ran at each other. Di Xinhan's body was like a tall mountain. With every step he took, he left a complete footprint on the ground. The entire arena shook intensely. The mysterious phenomenon was even more horrifying. Before the two approached, the two different auras clashed with each other in midair. It was hard to tell who would win. The heavy footsteps sounded like thunder, making the hearts of all the cultivators present pound heavily. Since the Blue Dragon King Xiaochen ascended to the highest arena, this was the most difficult battle for the crowd to determine the victor. Who would win and who would lose was very worrying. If someone were to look down from the sky, they would discover that the depth of the footprints left behind by the two men was almost the same. However, at the corners, Xiaochen's footprints were round and traceless. As for Di Xinhan's footprints, tiny cracks appeared at the edges. Before the crowd's anticipation, the two quickly approached each other. Who would win and who would lose would be revealed in the next moment. Boom! The strong clash happened in an instant. These two were peak experts of the same generation with strong physical bodies. One could not find an opponent in the heavenly starry ocean, and the other could not find an opponent in the Kunlun continent. As for who was stronger and who was weaker, it affected everyone's hearts. As the wind and clouds changed, a huge explosion rang out from the arena. Tiny cracks appeared in the void, as if space was about to be torn apart. Berserk dragons soared and danced around chaotically. In merely one breath, the victor was decided. Di Xinhan retreated quickly, and cracks appeared in his battle armor. Then it shattered, and he fell to the ground with disheveled hair. Then he staggered back a few more steps until he was only a hair's breadth away from the edge of the arena. Xiaochen took 10 steps back, and blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. He coughed and vomited another 3 mouthfuls of blood. Clearly, he was severely injured. In this kind of head-on confrontation, it was almost impossible for one to not be injured. Xiaochen clearly knew that using such a method to fight was disadvantageous to him. However, he still chose to do so without hesitation. Aside from the desire in his heart, Xiaochen also wanted to prove to the Lunar Palace's judges that he, Xiaochen, could defeat anyone in the heavenly starry ocean using the method that the other party was best at. He wanted to make the Lunar Palace's judges speechless. He wanted to take away the Dragon's Gate's final mountain tablet in this world. Even if Xiaochen got injured, he would not hesitate to be arrogant for once. So what if he challenged the various martial sages? Di Xinhan paled, looking even more miserable than Xiaochen's. He smiled bitterly and said, "My heavenly spiritual body is not weaker than your blue dragon war body. Unfortunately, my control over my strength is much weaker." As Di Xinhan spoke, he vomited a few more mouthfuls of blood. However, he did not show much dismay on his face. Instead, he appeared very carefree. Xiaochen said calmly, "My blue dragon war body is acquired. Your heavenly spiritual body is innate. In terms of control over my strength, I am definitely stronger than you." The reason was easy to explain. For the sake of cultivating the blue dragon war body, Xiaochen needed to continuously test and temper himself. The innate heavenly spiritual body did not require much testing. It was there from birth. All he needed to do was strengthen and raise his cultivation. Xiaochen did not stop speaking. He continued, "However, in reality, an innate heavenly spiritual body is much more convenient. If you did not give me time to prepare at the start, the victor would be hard to predict." Di Xinhan smiled and said, "The Blue Dragon King is too humble. Even if I did not give you time to prepare, my chances of defeating you would still be very slim. Your fine control over your strength is much stronger than mine. In this battle, Di Xinhan, accept my defeat wholeheartedly. I finally saw the weakness of the heavenly spiritual body. In the future, after I fix it, I will definitely fight with you again." After saying that, Di Xinhan turned around and left in a free and easy manner. Defeated, Di Xinhan also lost. Furthermore, he lost to his strongest point in one move. Such an ending was very dispiriting. Xiaochen did not even have the chance to draw his saber. Such a situation appeared in the 10,000-year Four Seas Hero Gathering, turning it into a stage for outsiders. It was easy to imagine the bitterness in the hearts of the cultivators in Bright Moon Plaza. However, although they felt bitter, the many cultivators no longer felt much hatred or jealousy for Xiaochen. Xiaochen's actions were not cheap tricks. Although his words were arrogant, he relied on his true strength to win every battle. No one could deny that. Whoosh! This time, they did not have to wait for long. A person quickly flew down from the Jade Pavilion. It was the Five Poison Sect's holy son, Qinlin. Why was it that after Xiaochen defeated his opponent in one move, the crowd paused for a long time before Di Xinhan made his appearance? This battle had only just ended when Qinlin rushed over to kill his opponent. The reason was simple. Xiaochen was injured. Strictly speaking, his injuries were not light. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.